can I get a motion to convene as the Consolidated Board of Equalization?
So moved.
Second.
I got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Any public input? All right, if not, Sherry, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Aaron's?
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins?
Yes.
Commissioner Gibbon?
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt?
Yes.
Commissioner Landine?
Yes.
I think we have to be careful how much business we do on the Consolidated because you're not sitting as the Board of Consolidated right now.
Okay,
Because you need the
Yep.
city and the,
so you don't want to do consent yet?
I would prefer that we don't, since we don't have the board here.
Okay, then we'll wait, and we'll come back, so I guess we probably didn't need to do that. We'll just have a recess until 10, and then we'll come back as our, regular board, or to do the consolidated, right?
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
thanks.
Sign some birthday cards.
Madam Chair, and move.
So right now, we are convened as a consolidated board. I need to, okay, can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you. We call the roll, Sherry.
Commissioner Aaron's?
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins?
Yes.
Commissioner Gibbon?
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt?
Yes.
Commissioner Landine?
Yes, then I need to reconvene as our Board of Commissioners.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. And Sherry, will you call the roll on that?
Commissioner Aaron's?
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins?
Yes.
Commissioner Gibbon?
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt?
Yes.
Commissioner Landine?
Yes. Okay, so in all of the discussion, I thought that motions were made on that land purchase, and apparently the actual motions were not, although we voted on basically nothing.
So, Madam Chair, I will offer a motion to exercise an agreement to purchase the 20 acres identified as number 10 on our agenda.
Second.
I have a motion and I have a second. Once again, I am going to reopen it up to any public comment. Any discussion? Okay, Sherry, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Aaron's?
No.
Commissioner Poppins?
Yes.
Commissioner Gibbon?
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt?
Yes.
Commissioner Landine?
Yes. And then just to keep things clear, I would actually ask for a motion to adjourn our Board of Commissioner meeting this morning.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. I've got a motion and a second. Sherry, will you call the roll on that?
Commissioner Aaron's?
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins?
Yes.
Commissioner Gibbon?
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt?
Yes.
Commissioner Landine?
Yes. Thank you.
We have a consent item also.
Yep. First, I'm going to go ahead and ask for a motion on our consent agenda.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Motion and second. Any public input? Any discussion? Sherry, call the roll.
Can you, just one second? Commissioner Aaron's? I
Yes.
don't have you down as on the board for Consolidated. So can I get a second from Gibbon, Garbers, Ockner?
Second. I also move.
What do we have,
Or
Sherry?
you
Okay,
wanted
so-
a second?
Commissioner, just now, we just need to vote on it. Commissioner Gibbon?
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt?
Yes.
Commissioner Garbers?
Yes.
Or Otkin?
Yes.
Landy?
Yes. All right, we'll move on to our consolidated board.
Our first appeal is parcel number 200.14.07.001, a single-family home built in 1889, 1,463 square feet, located at 319 North Kimball here in Canton. We currently have an assessed value of $165,907.
And for commissioners in the consolidated board, we're on page 8.
We have on the screen the subject property. Information in regarding the subject property, the assessment history, the tax history. The next page that is pertinent is our subject property against the 3 comparables that we are showing where our values are within the market value range. The subject property is currently assessed at $113 per square foot. Our cost on our comparables is indicating a range between $98 and $134 per square foot. The market is indicating a range between 105 and 163. Our subject property is at the lower range of both the cost and the market. I felt our comparables were very comparable to the subject property. We are recommending no change, it's within the market and the cost. The map shows where the subject property is located in blue, and our three comparables are all within the same area as the subject property. Our next set of slides for your information is the same type of information on our three comparables as the subject property. So it will show you all the details. And with that, Ethan and I will stand by for questions.
Thank you. Does anybody have questions for staff? All right, is the appellant present?
Page is that? I'm on page 8.
Good morning.
Good morning. Madam Chairman, my name is Larry Nelson. I'm here on behalf of myself and my wife. On this appeal, I went to the Department of Revenue, and it tells you that the value is supposed to be equal to the amount of money that this property would sell on the open market. And it explained that you can sit down with the assessor's office and have them explain their methodology to you. And I did that this morning before the hearing, and we looked at all the properties in addition to the ones that were listed for the comparison purposes. And the assessor also told me that they were willing to come in and do an in-site inspection of the property, and I'm gonna have them do that. The property is 134 years old. I own the property simply because I want to control who lives across the street. But after having visited with her, for our purposes today, we're going to accept the value that they've come up with.
All right, thank you for that. All right, so we're gonna keep that, that's the recommendation, is to keep that value. So close testimony on that. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Okay, and that's a motion to leave as is.
As is.
Is that sufficient for you, Sherry? How do you want the motions to read for your purposes?
If we're changing the value, then I'd probably want us to say what the value is we're changing it to, but since we're leaving it, we can say to go along with the assessor's recommendation.
Okay, so that's the motion as I understand it. We have a second. Any comment, discussion? All right, if not, will you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Gibbon,
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Yes.
Garbers,
Yes.
Atkin,
Yes.
Landine.
Yes. All right, next one.
Our next appeal is parcel number 200.50.24.003. It's 2.29 acres. It's owned by Eric Holman, Drew Anderson, Brad Peterson, and Larry Nelson. We sent out our assessment notice at $29,926. There is a recommendation by the assessor's office after we reviewed the property and looked at the comparable properties. There was an error that was done on the parcel. We put some market adjustments for water and accessibility on the parcel. It was taken off for our 23 assessment year, and we placed it back on. Our new recommendation is for $14,963.
All right, anybody have any questions for our assessor? All right, is the appellant present?
Madam Chairman, Larry Nelson again. I own this property with the individuals that were mentioned by the assessor. Eric Holman is also present here today. The property is located south of the railroad tracks. There are no building eligibilities. You can't build on it. Most of it's in the floodplain. There's no public street, there's no sewer, there's no water. For the lack of a better word, it's wasteland. And we think, or I think, that the value assigned is high. I think the value that you assessed the last time, the 7,900, is a more accurate figure. I am grateful that the assessor's office has told you about the error that they discovered, and I know there's some property to the east of that property, and it would appear to me that that error would also apply to that property. And my question, other than opposing, is, was that error also transferred to the adjoining property to the east? Thank you.
Larry, how did you come up with that figure, 7,980?
It was your figure.
What?
It was your figure that you came up with. To be frank with you, the first time that this property was assessed, it was at $235, and it rode at that forever and ever and ever. Then a notice was sent out, and I want to say 4 or 5 years ago, it was at $7,908. We objected at that time, and the number was set at $1,000. After that, to be candid with you, I fell asleep. I didn't realize that you guys would look at this every year. I figured it would sit at $1,000 for some period of time. It did not. It was set at the 7,900 figure, and I didn't think it was going to move, but then it did move, and I think when you did it 5 years ago, that's the number that was probably realistic, and that's where I got the number. It's your number.
Thank you.
Our assessor's asking that it be reduced to 14,963. Is that,
That is correct.
I'd consider a motion on this parcel.
Madam Chair, one quick question. Carla, how'd you come up with 14,000?
So you can see our two comparables. On wasteland, we have an assessment between 15 cents per square foot and 40. In the city of Canton, if there's no accessibility, and there's underlying conditions attached to the property, we have an excess assessment, which is 15 cents a square. It's actually 30 cents per square foot, but because of the water issue, we put a 50% adjustment on that. That's where we came up with the 15 cents per square foot.
So it is in a floodplain, Carla, or not?
Yeah, part of it.
Commissioners, what do you want to do?
You know, these things are never easy. I'm just sitting here thinking, okay, so we got land. I know, thank you for what you do. This is gonna be this will be an all-day situation, but on the other hand, if you have land that has no value, it's in a floodplain, it can't be used for anything, it just sits there. You have the responsibility of mowing, keeping the property clean and from trash and all the other kind of stuff. It just seems to me that $14,000 for land like that is a little high. But I don't know if you got
I'm looking
wasteland.
for a motion.
I know you are.
Can you,
I think if you look at the second comparable, it's also a lot of wasteland. It sold for $15 or 15 cents a square foot. It's along the river, has same type of issue.
It's sold, Carla, for that?
What's that?
Or was it appraised?
Yeah, it's a lot. It's bigger, but it's
Come on up.
something.
I'm got a question. I'd like to know.
Sure, I'm the owner of that property, and I bought it a number of years ago.
Sir, can you just state your name for the
Oh, I'm
record,
sorry.
please?
Sure, Eric Homan.
Thank you.
412 East First Street. And I'm the owner of 200.50.20 24.003, the property next to the property that you're discussing now. I bought it for $2,500. It's, when I got there, it was full of junk, and I cleaned it up, put a fence around it. I was concerned that at that time, the old trestle was there, and there had been a fire at that trestle, and I was worried that it would go through the woods and spread. So I have been cleaning it up. It's a great place to walk your dog, if you know what I mean, other than, and grandkids. But other than that, I can't do anything with it. Yeah. Thank you.
I know you're looking for a motion.
I sure am.
Well, I'm gonna make a motion that I have no rationale, so don't shoot me on this, but $10,000.
All right, I've got a motion. Is there a second?
How much would that reduce on the land or versus the
That
house?
would reduce it by $5,000.
Yeah, so you're taking 2,500 off both, or what were your thoughts, Commissioner?
Well, I'm lowering the proposed 14,963 to $10,000.
There's only a land value on it.
Pardon?
There's only a land value.
Okay, I'll second it then.
I've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, Sherry, call the roll.
Commissioner Gibbon,
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Yes,
Garbers,
Yes.
Ogden,
Yes.
Commissioner Landine.
Yes. Motion carries. Are the Cressmans present yet? They might not be. The next appellant.
What page are you on now, Carlo?
we're gonna be on 9 now, aren't we? 10?
I'm not sure what page it will be on the commissioner packet.
I'll find it.
It's the 10:30 a.m.
The 10:30 a.m. starts on page 44.
Page 44?
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Bingo.
Our next appeal is parcel number 200.11.00.006. It's located at 503 North Bartlett here in Canton. It's owned by Kenneth and Jacqueline Cressman. It's a single-family home built in 1920, 1,273 square feet of main living area. Our assessment went out at $185,633. This is the subject property. Show some pictures, sketches. Our three comparables that we chose are located on the comparable property report. Comparables are good comps. The cost is a little bit higher end because of the quarters over on the garage and of the condition. We did make a condition adjustment with the property after an inspection. We do have a subject property condition statement on all properties, so it tells you a little bit about the property when we inspected it during our reappraisal in 2019. We did show that it was worn and dated. We did bring the condition down to low. The assessor's recommendation is no change as the property is assessed within the cost and the market ranges. It's currently assessed at $145 a square foot. Our cost range is between $125 and $138. The market is indicating a range between $147 and $183 a square foot. Our comparables are all located within blocks of the subject property. The subject is in blue, our comparables are in red. With that, Ethan and I will stand by for questions.
Anybody have questions for staff?
There was no amount put down by the applicant?
What's that?
There was no amount put down by the applicant of the value?
The PT 17 is included, and that's where they put their requested value. What is it? 130. Oh, 130, right here.
They didn't split out the,
The land in the structure, no.
okay.
We did send out notices to everybody, letting them know the date and time of their hearing and.
Well, and we're
RSVPs.
ahead,
We are,
so,
okay.
yeah, I mean, it's 10:18 now. So if we need to, we can wait till they give them a chance to appear.
Madam Chair, if I may, be excused, I can run and grab our sheet that tells us our RSVPs, whether they're, oh, you do have it.
Okay.
Yeah, there was no response by the appellant, but that doesn't mean that they won't be here. They just-
Exactly. So we'll wait till 10:30.
Thank you.
What page is that?
44 is where it starts.
44.
Go up to the top. Go up to the top button, Jim, in the left corner, or the right corner. Go to the right
Oh,
corner.
okay, perfect.
See those arrows?
This one?
The blue bar.
Yep.
You see that arrow?
Yeah.
There, you can click through.
Okay. All right. Thank
No
you.
offense,
At least we're not.
but I won't be there.
Okay.
Do you think it's okay?
This was the
Madam Chair?
values.
Ethan did point out at the bottom of each page will tell us what page number we're on, so I didn't see that before.
I thought it was Friday the other
That's gotta be in this one. Sherry. On number 3.
This computer will not load.
Oh, it won't.
And they said 130.
What's the misprint?
So they're saying that the value is more than
Yeah,
what
it's very
Yeah,
busy.
we're saying.
No, you have to add up these two numbers. The 50, you have to add up the 59,570 and the 126. They gave a total of 130.
Oh, this, you gotta add these two together.
Okay. Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't gather
I
that.
didn't either.
So, Paul, when we do these
You go to view and then, just like we did it with Sioux Falls, if you want, you can do read mode and then.
Okay, so we got Kenny Chesney.
instead of scrolling, what do you think?
Okay.
Which one do you think?
It's,
Will you come up here and try it?
I'm looking at a PDF and you're looking
It
at.
should be worth nothing,
Well, this is a PDF.
you know, like,
Really
Oh.
anymore because it's inside
Okay.
this website. Read aloud.
and this over there. I've got that.
Yeah.
Is it really good?
Say, what's this here?
It didn't work.
This looks
They
like
didn't want it.
a reading mode icon.
Oh. No. Put that down there.
There's the sheet with the bar.
Settings part. Can I see it 1 second?
Well, I suppose I better stand while I
Maybe
can.
you should. Yep.
Stand while I can.
Okay, see what we got here.
Is the top figure land and then the bottom figure would be the house? Yes. Okay.
Work. I don't have very good Wi-Fi signal in here.
What?
Yeah, we do the total.
5-9.
But if you want it, you have it.
Plus.
Yeah, I mean, if you wanna figure, you can figure it out that way. Yep. You can figure it out that way and make a motion based off that if you wanna use your calculator to figure out what you wanna do on it.
Okay. Since we're just sitting here, it's a couple important things you might look for would be lower level finish. Here you can see the basement area. Here you can see how much of that basement's finished. And what type, it'll say walkout if it's a walkout, otherwise it'll say something like that. And then another thing that you don't see on our comparable report where it shows the 3 side by side here is garage size. That can skew the price per square foot of the house. Same thing, you can find the garage size in there as well, so.
Garage is at the bottom.
Yeah, right down here,
Lot of
last thing at the bottom
information.
here, it'll say how big the garage is.
It's a lot of information. But it's good.
Well, going into this year, who knows?
Yeah.
So how's it gonna work when I have to leave at noon?
And I'll just switch you out.
Huh?
Poppin said he was coming back.
Oh,
What happened to Joel?
I don't know. Why isn't Joel?
Why
in
isn't
this?
Joel here?
Because the way the consolidated board is set up is there's 3 commissioners, 1 school board member, and 1 school member. City member. So to have, you can't have 4, because then you end up with an even number. So
Okay,
we had to have it that way.
all right.
I don't remember that. I don't remember, I thought, well, I just don't remember.
I didn't either.
There
I
could
thought-
only be 3 of us.
The good news is we won't be doing this next year.
Promise?
It is a promise. I've already informed.
Is somebody
the-
gonna take my spot when mine all come up?
No, we're just gonna do it without you.
Just don't try voting on it.
Yes,
We've actually had somebody try to do that.
yes.
Yeah, I don't think I need that going around town.
Gillespie did that.
I was just gonna say.
Yeah.
Gillespie wanted to vote on his own appeal.
Yes. That's true.
Huh? I don't care.
It's true.
Well, it's true.
I know.
On that second appeal, how many acres was that?
2.2 something.
Okay.
$2.29.
Jesus.
We have dog parks in Sioux Falls that are just higher than that.
That,
$3 a
school
square
board
foot.
candidate for Lennox, did you see, she sent out a card that
Reason
was
why
about
that
this
one
big?
Yeah.
I mean, that had to cost a couple bucks.
Oh,
And if you sent it to every residential owner,
every voting member within the school
right,
district.
that might have cost her $3,000.
The
Or
crest
more.
ones.
Oh,
Anything.
oh, by the time you figure the cost of election and postage, I mean, bulk mail and everything, but that would,
You know,
I sent out, how many mailers did you send out in your election? I s- How many times?
3, 4.
Yeah. Yeah,
But that's why the price per square foot's higher.
3 or 4.
Yep. That's what I had.
They were
Those were the
expensive.
notes that I had as well.
Yeah. They're expensive.
Well, anyway. Hey, I went to the Davis play this year again.
How was it?
It was good. No place like Homer.
No place like Homer? I was too.
It was really good.
Haven't you ever been to the Davis play? No.
Not to the play.
The first year I went there,
Is that
the
if
guy
I just
couldn't
have
remember
one
his
parcel
lines.
good, it's a larger parcel. It's a land.
Really?
But they,
Boy, they pack 100 people in there. They must, fire marshal must just,
Part two
it's
is,
this kind of guy,
a lot of the
one-line singers like,
in this
in
one
the
does
play,
here.
it's something like, oh, I love you, honey.
Which
I
one
will
is that?
love you no matter what,
Craftsman.
even if you were from Parker.
Like cup 3 is smaller.
You know, everybody goes, wow, it's kind of redneck.
yeah, well, they'd laugh about that anyway, because Parker isn't the most popular place in the world
Even if you're
anyway.
from Parker.
Not when you get down around that area. Get Fiberg Hurley? No, no,
This one's on an
no.
acre, so that's also why the
Yeah.
price per square foot's higher. So-
What page
The
is this
land
next?
value, yeah.
Oh,
That should be it.
Ow, ow.
Yeah, so it's.
186, I don't see this year's.
So this is the house.
Well, you've got the land and
I don't know if
Yeah,
that's the
but if
house,
you add
is
them two
it?
together,
You don't know if that's the
it's
house?
I don't think so.
186.
I think this is the house here.
Which
ten
one?
30.
This is the house, I think, right here.
One of those,
Go to page,
I thought,
go to page 47.
What pages is the comparables from last year to this year on?
I think that's.
47, isn't it?
From last year
Paul?
to this year,
I thought this was the house.
Yeah, that's the house.
That's the house.
not sure what you mean.
And your comparables, Paul, are on page 47.
Right there, yep.
I'm heading there.
Comp two is
It's
smaller.
1030.
Yep. Is the applicant present for the appeal on parcel 211-00006? All right, Carla, you want to go ahead?
Our 1030 appeal is parcel number 200.11.00.006. It's located at 503 North Bartlett, owned by Kenneth and Jacqueline Cressman. It's a single-family home built in 1920, 1,273 square feet. The current assessment on the property is $185,633. We do show three comparables that we felt were strong comparables to the subject property that have sold within our assessment year. Our subject property does sit on 1 acre. Comp 3 is smaller and no lower level finish and still sold for $200,000. Our recommendation is no change as the property is within the cost range and below the market value. Our subject property is currently assessed at $145 a square foot. Our cost compare on our comparables is between $125 and $138. Our market is indicating a market range between $145 and $183. As stated previously, our subject property, is at the higher range for cost because there's some quarters over lower level finish in comparison with our comparables. There is a subject condition statement. We did do an exterior and interior inspection, so we did condition it down because of it was below normal back in 2019. Again, the assessors are recommending no change to the current assessment of $185,633. Ethan and I will stand by for questions.
All right, anybody have questions for staff? All right, if not, and the applicant is not present, I would consider a motion.
Madam Chair, I would move to keep your recommendation as currently by our assessor at $185,633.
That's keeping the land at
Land, yeah.
59,570 and the structure at 126,63.
Yes.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? If not, Sherry, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Gibbon,
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Yes.
Gerbers,
Yes.
Atkin,
Yes.
and Commissioner Landine.
Yes.
Our next appeal is parcel number 200.55.00.000. It is a parcel that sits on 1.97 acres. It's owned by Alvin and Suzanne Hegseth. The property location, I don't have that.
It's just south of the airport here in Canton.
Right. I'm just wondering, we've got these scheduled at set times. So they're moving quicker than they normally move.
They do, they are.
What page is that on?
It is on page.
60.
60.
60?
Yes.
They are.
So I think to be fair, we need to wait for these folks.
59, yeah.
We did ask them on our RSVP letter to arrive 10 minutes prior to their scheduled hearing.
Okay.
They did RSVP that they would be here in person on April 5th.
Okay. We're gonna wait then.
It's just an ag building, correct?
Yes.
That's right.
Are you Hegseth? Yes. Come on in. Are you ready to proceed or do you wanna wait till 10:40?
We're ready.
Okay. Go ahead, Carla.
Our next appeal is parcel number 200.55.00.000. It's 1.97 acres in city limits of Canton. It's owned by Alvin and Suzanne Hegseth. There is a still utility building also on the property. The assessment went out at $101,277. We do show some comparables of properties that have sold within or around Canton. These are all parcels that are within city limits of Canton, selling between $85,000 and $250,000 for sites. This particular parcel did have on comp two parcels adjoining to it, so our land value was $69,987 on 0.71 acres. Our three approaches to value shows the subject being currently assessed at $1.02 per square foot for just the land. The cost range from our comparables is between 32 cents and $2.25 a square foot. Shows a pretty broad range for land values, and a lot of that is because of size. Our market is indicating even wider range between 83 cents and 8.04 a square foot. Again, our subject property is at $1.02 per square foot. After review of the subject property from staff, we are recommending no change as the assessed value is between cost and market ranges. You can see where the subject property is located in blue and the three comparables that are scattered throughout Canton. Felt the comparables were good and they're all within city limits.
All right, anybody have questions for staff?
How big is that building?
1.9 acres.
It's 40 by 84.
Oh, sorry.
Anybody have any other questions? All right, and the applicant is present, sir. If you can just state your name and address and then go ahead with your testimony.
Sure, I'm Al Hagseth, 1600 East 77th in Sioux Falls. And have a couple of questions first that maybe might help me understand the valuation. Was this valued or assessed locally, or was it outsourced?
Locally.
Okay. And I'm still confused on what the zoning is.
That's not that's city.
Zoning doesn't affect our assessment or
Okay.
the way that we approach valuation.
Well, the property assessment is, in past 4 years, has gone up 550%. The taxes, 330%. But my main concern was if the FAA Part 77 and the 550 runway protection zone were considered.
No,
But,
that, I don't think that's anything we were aware of.
okay. Well, it's undevelopable, the property, because I'm less than 200 feet from the end of the airport.
Sir, can you speak into your microphone
I'm
so
sorry.
we can hear you?
I'm less than 200 feet from the end of the runway.
So is it to restrict the height of what you can build there? Is that?
It restricts the height, and Part 550 also recommends that nothing but agriculture or remain vacant. Land use is prohibited from the RPZ are residences and places of public assembly. Other uses with similar concentrations of persons typify public assembly. So I struggled finding any comparables. There's are no utilities to the property. I've owned it for about 35 years with no intent to build anything on it.
There's no electric in the building?
Electric in the building, yes. No
Okay.
water, no gas. The building, I believe the valuation of the building was just under 15,000.
Correct.
I don't see an issue with that. It's the $85,000 worth of garden plot that I struggle with.
How would that affect your value, if at all?
I mean, without knowing all the regulations, I mean, we value as in fee simple, meaning it's ready for development and no liens or judgment. I mean, we don't know a lot of that information when we're making an assessment. It could affect value, we don't have anything that shows that it affects value.
Yeah, I think we'd face the same challenge as the appellant in finding sales that are within an FAA regulated zone or whatever the acronym of that was.
So you can see on the picture how close I am to the end of the runway. In fact, I've been approached by a couple of members of the airport board to purchase the property.
Sure.
How much?
I said 35,000 and I didn't hear from them again.
Would you be able to build more storage structures as
I
the
don't
one
think
that
so.
sits there? But we don't know that.
Well, if I was to build anything, I'd have to go through the FAA. It'd be up to them if they allowed it or not.
Sure. So it's kind of an unknown at this point then.
Well, it's an unknown. It can't, I know it can't be any higher than 35 feet. But they recommend nothing. And their recommendation is that the airport either owns that proximity, or they lease it, or they have an agreement on it, an easement.
Kenneth, you are correct in having been on an airport board. You have to get full clearance from the FAA before you can construct anything. So many feet from runway, so high, there are any number of regulations that are going to, if you should decide to add a facility or a building onto that.
Yeah, I'm not sure if the existing building hadn't been there when they extended the runway. I'm not sure I could have put that there
That could be. I don't know, how long has that building been there?
since '83, I believe.
And you'd have to come in and get a building permit to build there, correct?
Sure.
If you were gonna put another accessory building.
Which, that's not so bad, but the FAA issue would,
Canton's airport was remodeled, I don't know how many years ago, and lengthened. And when because at the same time, we were doing the T airport. And when you lengthened it, of course, more regulations went with it. So those buildings that may not been encumbered when the original airport was there may now come under the jurisdiction of the FAA because of the length of the runway, so.
it was, at the time that they lengthened the runway is when they approached me about buying the
Yes.
property.
Okay. Is this something, Carla, that you want to take a look at and reassess, or, I mean,
So you're looking at the whole of the property, you want the whole thing valued at 30,000?
No, the numbers that I arbitrarily came up with were the 14,138, which is the building, and 30,000 on the land. Part of that land is also, disappeared.
Could you live with it if we left it at what it was last year, 66,544? Because I agree, I mean, I understand that issue that you're saying you have with the FAA and what a nightmare that would be to try to get permission to build there, and then you'd still have to jump through planning and zoning. And where it's located, I don't see our planning and zoning giving you one. I don't know
They
that.
shouldn't. They
But, so I do agree with you, I'm just not sure what value we should, set that at. But I would need a motion in any effect.
Well, I also move, ma'am, that we leave it like it was a year ago, which was 66.
66,544.
Six-
The structure was, make sure I'm getting this right, structure versus land, because they're backwards on my,
Structure, I believe, was 13,091.
13,091.
yeah.
so we'll leave the structure where it is and then reduce the land.
Last year, it was 53,453. The land.
That would be my motion then, Madam Chair.
To leave it as it was last year.
Correct.
Okay, I've got a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
I've got a motion and a second. Any discussion amongst the commission? All right, if not, Sherry, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Gibbon,
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Yes.
Garbers,
Yes.
Atkin,
Yes.
Commissioner Landine.
Yes. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next item is on our agenda is scheduled for 10:50, so we've got a few minutes. Did they RSVP or are they present? Okay, great.
What page is that on?
You should just be able to scroll down where you're at, and then you come up to the next appeal. They're all in order.
Now they're all in order?
What do you mean?
It's a lot more pages than we're used to, so.
Yeah.
I still don't know what
It is a
page
lot
that
of pages.
Starts on page 87.
87, did you say?
Correct. Yep.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
John, Lori, are you here? Yep. Okay, you guys ready to go? Okay, Carla, go ahead.
Our next appeal is parcel number 200.50.14.003. It's a parcel located in the city limits of Canton. It consists of 18.752 acres. It's owned by John and Lori Lems. Our current assessment is $245,048. Our three comps are also located within city limits of Canton. They're good comps. Our first comp did include a structure with the sale, but it did show the indication on all three comps that our assessments are not over market when we look at these larger parcels. Currently, the subject property is being valued at our lowest tier in our pricing scheduled in Canton at 30 cents per square foot. The cost is showing our cost comparisons between 32 cents and 62 cents per square foot. The market is indicating 40 cents and 95 cents per square foot. Again, our subject is being assessed at 30 cents per square foot, so it's right in the lower tier of both the cost and the market. Assessors are recommending no change to the assessment for 2023. You can see where the subject property is located in the northwest corner of this map. Our comparables are just they are scattered through Canton because we are trying to find some parcels that were larger in size when we're doing our comparison. With that, Ethan and I will stand back for questions.
Is comps 1, 2, and 3, are they in floodplain? I know this one is, I'm just wondering about the other three.
I can't answer that.
It looks to me like comp number 3 is about half in the floodplain. It's the first one I looked at. To my knowledge, comp 2 is partly in the floodplain on the south side there, where that creek kind of border or hits the border of the west edge there. And I think part of comp 1 is in the floodplain as well. I'm looking at it right now. Just a sliver of comp 1 is in the floodplain.
And the subject is all in the floodplain.
Pretty much.
Within your packet, there is also some pictures that the appellant provided to you that's on pages, starting at page 98
Thank you for
to
that.
107.
All right.
108.
Mr. Lems,
Yes.
what do you want to say about your property?
Well, I feel that it's all in the floodplain. You can't,
I see that.
I haven't not tried to get a building permit because I don't know why you would. The deepest the water's ever been, I think. My boy was sat on top of a roll cage of a bulldozer for 3 hours waiting for a boat to come and get him on the highest part on the 14th flood, but the piece of property across the road is just about 100% tillable. Half of it's above the floodplain, and it's valued less than 100,000. And this is basically, it's wasteland. You can't build on it. You can get a crop off it on the years that it doesn't flood, but then it has to be a drought, so you don't get a whole bunch. But in drought years, you can use it. Wet years, it's underwater, and that's a lot of cleanup. We've donated it to for civic. We had the Civil War event down there, and we had Trails Committee had a thing down there. It works all right for that, but 250,000, it seems to be a lot of money for a piece half the size of the one across the road that can all be farmed. So I don't get it. And I don't know if it's a zoning issue. Is it zoned different than the farm ground? Or
So in order to qualify for agricultural classification and valuation, you have to meet a set of criteria by the state of South Dakota. The first and foremost, it has to be agricultural productive. So you have to be doing something ag on
Sure.
it. And once you meet that criteria, you have to meet one of the other two. Size, which is in Lincoln County, 40 acres,
Yep.
or 80 acres of management area, or $2,500 of income from the land 3 of the last 5 years. So if you're able to meet those criteria set by South Dakota statute, then you can qualify for agricultural classification and valuation.
so that makes the land drop in value that much?
Yes.
You're talking to the west of you, right?
Yep. So his is worth.
The most an acre of farm ground would be valued at this year is around $3,300 an acre, and it might be worth $17,000 an acre.
Right. But ground that's worthless is valued way more?
Property that is not classified as agricultural is valued at fair market value. Property that is classified as agricultural is valued at productivity value, which is not a representation of market value.
Okay, I don't know what all the fancy words are, but I just feel a piece of ground that's worthless and you can't do nothing with, it should be not valued at a piece of productive farm ground, but I don't know what else to say.
John?
Oh, shoot.
I have a question.
Yep, can you just state your name, please?
Yeah, my name is Lori Lems. And just out of curiosity, I know there's, I don't know if it's zoning, but it's considered recreational property. Is that something that a person could look at doing, being that we do donate it for different, the Civil War event was huge for the city of Canton. The Halloween thing the trails thing went great also. I don't know if is that something we can look at? Is it a possibility?
So in the state of South Dakota, there is only agricultural, non-ag, or commercial. So those are your
only three.
choices.
So-
Recreational is a zoning, a city zoning. So it's city code, not a state code.
Okay, I
so
was under
that-
the understanding, my brother, Gary Hoffman, lives down by Newton Hills and in that area and owns about 40 acres in there, and his was classified recreational, wasn't it?
Recreational, I think, but I don't know what that means either.
But maybe, no, that couldn't,
I'm not familiar with all the zoning terms. Recreational, I think it regulates on what you can build on the property.
Right, like,
So-
it might be able to be zoned recreational as far as the county is concerned for like what you can build or what kind of activities you can do there. But when they're doing the valuations, the way that they do them, they have these certain defined, as she explained, ways that they have to label them.
So
So-
if we could get $2,000 a year income, you said?
2,500,
Okay, then-
3 of the last 5 years.
And then who do we show that? Is it county or
Us.
city?
Us, the county.
John, you have alfalfa out there, don't you?
I did. I had 10 acres of alfalfa. I
Yeah,
planted
I-
alfalfa in there and now I've
Yeah,
changed it to
yeah,
grass. So
so
I've been harvesting
you-
grass, but I feed it all. I don't sell it, so.
But still, you're generating income off of it.
Yeah, yeah. And
Does
it
that
would have been enough
qualify,
to do
Carla?
it.
I mean,
We'd have to take a look at his Schedule Fs for farm income and see if he qualifies 3 of the last 5 years for ag income.
Yeah, and we've never done that. I raised it and put it up, but I never claimed it or sold it or nothing. I just used it. I always had it, so.
I don't think
What
that
I-
you're gonna get
You have to show
$2,500
income.
off it.
Well, and the
Sure.
only, there's only not quite 10 acres that could be considered tillable on a year that it doesn't flood. The rest of it is creek. I mean, the rest of it is definitely waste
All right.
now.
I'm looking for some kind of a motion. Commissioner Gibbon? Yep, I'm
I'm
putting you on
sorry
the
to bother
spot.
you guys with this. I know it's a pain in the butt, but it seems kind of silly to have a piece of ground that's valued so much higher than usable farm ground that's, it's wasteland, but
Well, your taxes total value was 98,000 in 22, and now it's 245,000. And land hasn't changed much.
it's still underwater a lot. I mean, yeah, the creek's underwater all the time, but
You know, and even this year now, we haven't had any flooding, but it still comes into the area that we have made trails on. So it's a constant cleanup for us to keep it available to the public. We have people walk down there, walk their dogs. So we're constantly working on keeping it a nice piece of property.
until the next big flood
When there
comes.
was the one flood that we had, that was the big flood. But there's been, I think there's a picture there of me walking with one of our
Yeah,
dogs. That
yeah.
wasn't our major flood. That was one of the other years. We
Okay.
had horses get taken down the creek and stuck in mud and, you know, it doesn't happen every year, but when it does, it takes us 3-4 years to get it back to
Yeah.
the way we want it.
All right, I'm gonna close testimony on this. Commissioners, folks, what do you wanna do?
If you look at parcel 2 that we did earlier, we gave that a value of 10,000, and that was at 2.29 acres. So if you divide that, and like I say, I don't know if you want to take the total 18 acres or not, I had it up here.
18.75.
I'd
If
take
I may
the
address
total,
the board.
Paul.
That
So that
comes
particular
up to
adjustment-
81.8.
What was that figure?
If you take the per acre and then take it times 18.75, because that one was all under floodplains also, that comes to 81,886. So if you're looking for a motion, I'll make that a motion.
All right, you wanna repeat that number for me, Paul?
Yeah. As I get back up here again.
81.
81,886.46.
All right, I've got a motion to value the land at 81,886.46.
Let's just use whole numbers, please.
Huh?
Let's just use whole numbers. Drop off to 46.
81,886.
So
All right,
you want it rounded up?
do I have a second?
81,886.
Pardon?
81,886.
Okay. I'll second it then.
I got a motion and a second. Any discussion? If not, Sherry, call the roll.
Commissioner Gibbon,
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Yes.
Garbers,
Yes.
Odkin,
Yes.
Commissioner Landine.
Yes. All right, next item is item 6 on our agenda. Thanks, folks.
Our next appeal is parcel number 200.19.00.B00. It's located at 402 South Blair here in Canton. It's a bare lot that sits on 0.16 of an acre. It's owned by Thomas and Patricia Wallner. Our current assessed value is $18,038. You can see we have 3 comps here.
What page you on? I'm sorry.
Pardon?
Page 112.
112.
Thank you.
Our comps show that there are some sales that have occurred in and around Canton that have sold. So we're showing you the 3 comps right there. Our current assessment on the property is $2.49 a square foot. The cost comparables show a range between $194 and $250 a square foot. The market is indicating a market range between 55 cents and $3.29 a square foot. With that, the assessors are recommending no change. The land falls within the cost and the market approaches to value. Stand by for any questions.
Thank you. Does anyone have questions for staff?
Acres on that was what?
Address there. 66. 0.166.
So is this a wooden building fixture or steel or a house?
It's just a bare lot.
Just a bare lot?
Yep.
Okay.
In
thank
comp 3, you'll notice that we have a value of 41,114 on that, and it sold for 13,500. What that was part of our consent items, and that valuation was a correction on our first, so that should have been valued at like 6,000.
5,998.
5,998, and it sold for 13,500.
So we're moving it to that 30 cents a square foot rate for comp 3.
Just wanted to clarify that on here. You can see where the subject property is located on the map and where comparables are at. Comp 3 sits right down here. It's adjoining parcel to the owner owns the parcel right to the north of it. There's no access other than through his property. So that's why that property is being assessed at 30 cents a square foot. It's for the access adjustment, and here's the subject property. Just want to give you that information.
Anybody have questions for staff? All right, if not, the applicant's present. Can you just state your name and address, please, and then go ahead with your testimony?
Patty Wallner, and I live at 903 North Grant Street in Canton.
And what would you like us to know about your property?
Back in 1999, that property and Tract A were all one. Well, I shouldn't say it was before 99. That little piece of property was sold off to someone else, and then we bought the Tract A portion. When the Tract B came up for sale, we bought it because it was basically in our property. When we removed the house from it, it then became ineligible for any use because it's not big enough according to the city of Canton. You have to have 7,500 square feet to build or do anything with it. So when I asked about why the taxes went up, I was told because it has a driveway. It basically is a driveway to our shop building. Both Tract A and B are zoned residential, but Tract A is being charged at $1.75, and this is the $2.49. And now the city is asking for an easement for that property for their new sewer system, which then even creates less of a space that would be usable if we spent the money to put Tract A and B back together again. So I guess I'm just asking if it could be at the same as Tract A.
The $1.75, what would
Yes.
that come out to be?
12,626, and that was a late recommendation that came in as well from the
Okay.
assessors.
So what was that number, Carla? 12?
12,626.
Okay.
Make a motion to value it at 12,666.
Second.
Got a motion? Got a second? Any further discussion? All right, Sherry, you call the roll?
Commissioner Gibbon,
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Yes.
Gerbers,
Yes.
Hudkin,
Yes.
Landine.
Yes. Thank you
you.
for coming in.
Thank you.
All right, our next one is, we had a couple minutes here. Is anyone for the next appeal present? Trevine?
This particular appeal does have a conflict. They were gonna try to break away for a phone call.
Okay, so we see if we can get them on the phone.
What is their request on this next one?
What's that?
Their request, I guess our sheet's blank.
Well, I think it was more of a statement than a request.
Wonder what the number is for these guys.
What page are we gonna start on, Ethan?
Yeah.
121.
Thank you.
Page 121.
God, the old Canton Academy. Augustana Academy.
It's the old main building, isn't it?
Yeah, old Maine.
Are you guys there? Can you hear me?
Yes, who's on the phone?
This is Jim Trevine. I'm the
Okay.
owner of the old Main apartment.
All right, Carla will go ahead and present her valuation documents, and then you'll have an opportunity to testify when she's done.
Okay.
Our next appeal is parcel number 200.49.01.001B. It's owned by Jim and Sandra Trevine. It's located at 320 North Lawler here in Canton. It's a 5-story apartment building. Our current assessment went out at $1,209,654. There was a sale on the property that happened in November of 2021 for $1.3 million. On our assessor recommendation, you can see that we did do the 3 approaches to value. The cost was coming in at $1,209,654, which is our current assessment. The sales approach shows a valuation of 1.3 million, and the income approach is showing a valuation of 1,287,808. All 3 approaches are shown. Well, we talked a little bit about the subject condition. You can read through that. We made a statement on all of our income producing properties that we do consider all 3 approaches to value when looking at the income producing properties. We do rely heavily on the cost approach to value, but we do consider all 3 approaches. Here is our sales comparison for multifamily homes. Comes 1, 2, and 3. Currently, our subject property is being valued at $40 a square foot or $44,802 per unit. You can see our cost comparables show a range between $40 and $52 a square foot, and the unit range between $43,202 and $63,262 per unit. Our market is indicating a market range between $43 and $60 per square foot, and our market range is $46,429 and $56,000 per unit. So we are actually within both ranges of the cost, market, and income. They're pretty much equal, which is in our assessment world fantastic to see. All approaches support one another. We have been in communication with the appellant. Some of his grievance is based on what his taxes have done since he purchased the property. This was an appeal back in 2020. The property owner stated during 2020 appeal that we were over market value. They later, 4 months later, sold it for almost $500,000 more than what we had it assessed at after the appeal was considered. So I think I'll let the appellant address that. We'll sit by for any questions.
All right, first of all, does anyone on the board here have questions for staff? All right, Mr. Trevine?
Yes.
Yep. Go ahead with your testimony.
Well, I'm gonna make this short and sweet. I know the assessment, the annual assessment came back at 1.209, which is almost the same amount of a purchase price, which was just a little over a year and a half ago. I don't quite understand the cost approach as far as arriving at that figure. I know you went through some numbers and figures there to explain that, but we're almost at 100% of what I paid for the property just less than 18 months ago. So I know you removed the old repeal values from last year, which was 882,000, and bumped it up 37%, which I thought was quite a hit for 1 year. I know you're trying to make up for lost time, but to do it all in 1 year, I think, is a bit of a stretch. I think a more fair approach would be to do it gradually instead of taking one big assessment hit in 1 year, because it definitely is going to make a big impact on my taxes. So I guess in a nutshell, what I'm requesting is a reduction in the assessed value of maybe down to a third instead of 37%, maybe like 13, 14%, somewhere in that area. And we can go from there, I guess. I'll throw it back to you guys.
Thank you. I don't know, Carla, do you want to address the questions about why the sale versus market value, that what our real goal is to have it at 100%?
Right, so assessments are to be at market value or 100% of market. We strive to be at that level of assessment every year. Some properties were closer than others. And, to address we can't assess property based on what you want your taxes to be. The law is very clear on that. An appeal is only good for 1 year. I did have so during our reappraisal, I did hold appealed values for 2 years, although state law says an appealed value is only good for 1 year. And, going forward, that's all it will be. It's just an appealed value is good for 1 year. Each year is a new assessment year.
Okay, I didn't realize that. Sorry.
You bet.
I didn't mean to interrupt. I didn't know it was
Nope,
only
that's
good
fine.
for 1 year. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
Did you have any other questions that I can address?
No, I didn't know exactly what the state's involvement was as far as the cost approach. I didn't realize they were after 100% market value as far as assessments go.
Can you explain the 85%?
When the 85% comes into play, that is you're being taxed at a representation of 85%. So if we're assessing county-wide properties at 100%, your taxable value will be 85% of that assessed value. In 2022, our level of assessment was 90% overall. So your level of assessment for every $100,000 of valuation, you were taxed at $94,400. And so each year that factor for your tax level changes.
Okay, I understand.
So you don't pay taxes on that $1.2 million.
On the full amount, okay.
Yep.
I didn't realize that.
Yep.
Okay. I guess that answers my question. I was a little bit unclear. I just need a little more of a clarification from your end, I guess, as to the why, the increase.
It can be very confusing.
Yes, it can, to say the least. I know there were a bunch of comps that, David had sent me, David Erdman, in regard to, the sale of a lot of properties down there. I realized that some of them were priced over over 100%. How does that compute? Or am I reading that wrong?
So on comp two, that was so could you ask the question again? I'm not sure what the actual question was.
Well, on the
Why it was-
PDF that David Erdman sent me, he sent me a bunch of comps and the percentages of the increase, unless I'm not reading that correctly. Some of those assessments were over 100% of the property value. Is that correct?
Right, so when we do our analysis, we look at our assessed values to our properties, the sell price. And, of our 84 sales, there were a handful of them that went over the 100%. There's always conditions out there, we don't know what, every sale has a story per se.
Correct.
Some sales, that were at 60%, and some sales were at 105%. But overall, we're striving for that middle sale, which is our median assessment. We have to be between 85 and 100% for our median ratio. So that's the number we strive for. We're going to have some below that and some above it. But with mass appraisal, we're looking for that middle number.
Okay, and that's according to the state's formula, basically?
Yes, you can find all those medians and coefficients and all that in statute and administrative rule.
Okay. All righty. I guess other than that, I didn't have any other questions. That pretty much explains what I was concerned about. I didn't know exactly what the tax value would be, but it's not the full assessed value. Is that right?
That is correct.
That's correct.
All right, thank you, Mr. Tureen. I'm gonna close testimony on this and consider a motion.
Madam Chair, I would move that we keep the recommendation at $1,152,681 as our assessor has recommended.
Okay, is there a second? But that's just the building, so you're leaving the land and the building the same?
Yes.
Okay, so it's more like 1.209,
Yes,
I
excuse me,
think.
I misspoke, but everything stays the same.
I'll second that.
Okay, I've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, Sherry, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Gibbon,
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Yes.
Gerbers,
Yes,
Odkin,
Yes.
Commissioner Landine.
Yes. Next item?
Our next appeal is also requesting by phone.
He's here.
Oh, he's here. Oh, okay.
All right, go ahead with Carla.
So our next appeal is parcel number 200.53.00.200. It's owned by Jimsco Incorporated, located at 500 West Lyon in here in Canton. It is a mobile home park with 25 mobile home units. Its current assessment is $337,497, which is a $13,500 for. You wanted to find that? $13,500 for the site. We do have a assessor recommendation for the site improvements. We are indicating that we are correcting the date for the site improvements to 1978. So the assessor recommendation is to keep the land value at $103,846 and lower the site improvements down to $163,013. Our three comps that we're showing an assessment is equity are all in Lenox. So when we look at mobile home parks, we look not only at the land value, but also for the sites and what those sites are indicating, whether they're concrete, electric, gas, all the hookups that are improved on the property. So we looked at some comparables in Lennox, and the comparables showed that we are, for the cost approach, our assessor recommendation is stating overall per mobile home site is 10,674, and with the assessment equity, it has a cost range of $9,780 to $15,014 per site. We also looked at some comparables for the market on some mobile home parks. Now, these comparables are located in Minnehaha County, but we just want to show you that there is a market for mobile home sites, not necessarily in Lincoln County because we haven't had any sell per se, but we did show that there is a market for purchasing mobile home parks. And then the maps show where the comps are located in comparison with the subject property, and then also the market where the on this page where the subject's located, where the sales that are in Minnehaha County, which is north, yeah.
Have we done a sales approach on this at all or not?
Yep, we look at,
That's gonna be the sales comparables right here. Baltic, Colton, and Garrettson.
So,
If you look here, this is gonna be the sales approach right here, the range of the sales approach, and this is gonna be the range of assessment equity or comparable assessments.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean sales on the land, I meant, income approach.
Oh, the income approach to value.
did we do an income?
No, I don't believe so.
Madam Chair. Carla or Ethan, so your recommendation is to keep the land, is that at 103,846?
Correct.
And then to move the assessment down to 163,013 from 233,651, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And the appellant is present. Sir, go ahead and state your name and address, and then go ahead with your testimony.
Hey, good morning, Jeff Schooler, 1310 North Wayland Avenue, Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I'm here to, first of all, I've had a great connection with your assessor's office. Appreciate all the work they've done. Working with David has adjusted this to where, as a base, we think it should be, at least from the outset. I will say this, though. I'm on the executive board of the South Dakota Manufactured Housing Association. That park in Lennox is one that I helped develop, so I know that inside and out. It's vastly different from this park. Why? It's got, more, it's got the water, the sewer, the gas and electric, all up to code of when it was developed to city code, which this has none of. This was developed with a tractor, put in with the improvements based upon who lived down the street. And that's what it was when I bought it. So what we have is a significantly failing infrastructure in this park where the corrected value of 106, I'm not debating the land value. That's fine. We'll go from there. And starting from a base though with 166 or whatever it was for the improvements, I could probably do that whole park. I'd sell the improvements to that for anybody who'd buy it. But it's right around, I could probably do those for about $4,000 a piece, which would bring that to about $100,000 as it relates to the improvements. So I would say that the true value of those improvements, although there may be a formula, and I understand that, is 166, I'd say that 100 would be more of a fair value. We do have 2 lift stations there, 2 pumps, all the water, all the sewer, that's all owned by us. I maintain it. Every spring and every fall, we have something that we need to fix with that, and it's an ongoing process. As it relates to the comp approach, I understand why the assessor, and this is kind of point 2, would point to Minnehaha County as a comparable sales. However, if you know about what is happening in Minnehaha County as it relates to Class A properties and how those are funded through FEMA. What these people are doing are buying mobile home parks in Class A parks, right? And what they do is, if they can get to $100 million in debt, then they get special rates from the federal government. And they get first selections, and they can transfer their properties in and out without having any appraisals. So what these guys are doing are grabbing parks in Minnehaha County, not Lincoln County, and trying to get more debt, trying to accumulate more debt so they can be more of a powerhouse in the industry. That doesn't necessarily apply to the Lincoln County property because we're a Class B property like we are in Pierre. So what we're saying is, I don't think that those, I mean, if I could sell that property for that, great, but those necessarily aren't comparable because even though they're close to Lincoln County, outside investors are paying way more for stuff in Minnehaha than they are in Lincoln. Just because of how the federal government classifies those counties. So I guess on those 3 points, and we kind of stand on those. We do provide, and I did a poll, of our people who live there. It's workforce housing. It's 100% of them said they were on a fixed budget, and we are trying to meet the needs of a state elucidated response to provide more workforce housing for more of affordable price, and hence the taxes that they'll see as an increase directly affect their budget. So with that, I'll stand on my comments, and I do appreciate your time.
Thank you. I'm going to close testimony. Do we have a motion? If you have questions of the applicant, go ahead, but keep it short, please.
So on page 138, you're recommending the lower.
Yes.
Yes.
I'll make a motion to go with the assessor's recommended lowering the value to total value of $266,859.
That's the land at 103,846, improvements at 163,313.
Correct.
Okay,
Second.
got a motion and a second. Any discussion? If not, Sherry, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Gibbon,
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Yes.
Garbers,
Yes.
Hodgkin,
Yes.
Commissioner Landine.
Yes. Thank you, sir. Next on our agenda, item 9. Go ahead, Carla.
Do you want to find it for me? Our next appeal is parcel number 200.31.08.002. It's located at 626 North Lincoln here in Canton. It's owned by Lauren Wallner. It's a single-family home, one story, built in 1990, 864 square feet. Our current assessment went out at $129,187. Our 3 comparisons are found on page 150. They're good comps in the same area. Our cost shows that the subject property is coming in a little bit higher than our cost of our comparables, and that's because it's a larger garage. The other comparables have smaller, older, or no garages, so that's what distorts our cost range for our subject property. Our market is indicating a range between 105 and 163 a square foot. Our subject is being assessed at $150 a square foot. It is coming in at right at or in between the market approach to value. The assessors did do an interior and exterior inspection. It was in normal condition. The siding cement was in normal condition. The garage is is newer than the home itself. It was built at a later date, I believe in the 90s. So with that, you can see where the subject is located in comparison with the subject properties. They're all in the same general vicinity of the subject property. With that, the assessors are making a recommendation of no change, leaving the value at $129,187. Stand by for any questions.
Anybody have questions for staff? All right, and the appellant's here. Go ahead, sir, state your name and address, and then go ahead with your testimony.
Lauren Wallum, 626 North Lincoln Street.
Well, first thing is when she's talking about my garage, it's a small double garage. If I put two vehicles in there, I gotta move one basically to the side to get in and out of it. I mean, it's not, it's only 17 feet wide. So it's like I say, it's not a very big garage. And the one thing I had is I don't know, did they include the house, just two houses south of me in your comparison, price-wise? One I know they redid a whole lot on, that's why I was just curious.
Right across the street?
No, it'd be 2 blocks south, or two houses south of mine.
No,
Okay. That one, I know they put a lot of money in it, and it's
no, we did not.
nothing to compare to me.
So that's the garage, and we have it 21 by 22, I think that says. So it's pretty
There's
standard.
two 7-foot doors, and then whatever, there's like,
Sure.
that'd be 14, and then there's about 2 feet on each side, and then about a foot in the middle.
Sure. But 2 garage doors,
Yeah.
standard garage doors?
Yeah.
Sure.
But I think, well, you guys all have read my attached sheets here, I'm sure, so I just was figuring for what I've done or I haven't done to the house for several years, that maybe the taxes should stay where they were, let's put it that way. I don't know if that's possible or not, but I could live with that. I still think it's too high priced or overtaxed.
All right, commissioners, any questions, any comments? Consider a motion.
Your property is a couple blocks south of the high school?
Kind of kitty corner from the high school to the south and west, or south and east, I mean. So that's one thing, comment I made, I know we'll get a lot of traffic up in that area, so, and the parking is awful poor, so.
And so what was your disagreement about the garage?
Well, I think it's not, it doesn't, the way you say it, it sounds like it's a regular full-size garage, but it's not.
And I know you said in your note here, you hadn't made any improvements approximately in 20 years.
No, I haven't.
And does that include your garage?
Yes. Well, yeah, it's been more than 20 years since I expanded it a little bit. It was even smaller than that when I bought the property.
I get a motion?
Can we lower the garage 10,000 and leave the house the same? So that would be,
$22,000,
yes,
22,198, and 96,989 for a grand total of,
You don't need to total it if you've got those broke out. Is that a motion, Commissioner Gibbon?
that would be my motion.
Is there a second?
Is that the land value that you're looking at?
The garage and
The motion is to lower the structure to
of the.
22,198
yep,
and then leave the land at the 96,989.
yep.
Okay, so the house is at 96,989.
Which includes the garage.
Oh, then we gotta do it backwards.
And
so
the
it'd be
land is
86.
32,198.
Okay, all right, then I'd have to withdraw my motion.
Okay, consider a new motion. Do you want to leave the land at the 32,198 and reduce the structures by 10,000?
Yeah, I could live with that.
Is that a motion?
That'll be my motion.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, please call the roll.
Commissioner Gibbon,
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Yes.
Gerbers,
Yes.
Atkin,
Yes.
Landine.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And is our next appellant here?
Yep.
All right, are you folks ready? Oh, there they are. All right, go ahead, Carla.
Our next appeal is parcel number 200.25.05.005. It is located at 319 West 3rd Street here in Canton. It's owned by Henry and Marlis Vandekieft. It's a single-family home, one story, built in 1900. It has a 1,341 square feet. Our current assessment went out at 158,133. We do have a recommendation after we did an interior inspection. The appellants called the office, requested an inspection, so an assessor went out and changed the basement square footage. Our assessor recommendation is leave the land at $48,006 and then change the house down to $108,086 for a total value of $156,092.
Thank you. Does anybody have questions for staff? All right, if not, appellants are here. If you're going to speak, please state your name and address, and then go ahead with your testimony.
Henry and Marlis Vandekieft, 319 West 3rd, Canton. More or less, did take some pictures of what the basement does look like. And when we had discussed it, that it's not a full basement. And
Sir, can you speak into the microphone? We just need to be able to hear you on the recording.
I did take some pictures after the meeting with her, and that showed what the basement looks like. That is not the full basement, so.
They put us
Which
down.
we
as-
adjusted for.
They put it down as a full basement, and we don't have a full
Full
basement.
basement.
Comment?
And that's what we adjusted for.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, because you were appealing for your house to be at 110, 127, and the recommendation is now 108, 086, if I'm correct. Right?
That is what the appellant stated on his appeal form, so we lowered it.
Yeah.
Below what is requested.
It's below what they have originally requested. So you had said at 110, 127. Now it is at 108, 086. So it's less than what you had requested. Christmas came early.
Does that sound correct, folks?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Is there anything else you'd like us to know? All right, I'm going to go ahead and close testimony on this and consider a motion.
Madam Chair, I would move that we leave the land at 48,006 and we readjust the house at 108,086 for a total of 156,092.
Second.
All right, I've got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Sherry, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Gibbon,
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Yes.
Gerbers,
Yes.
Atkin,
Yes.
Landine.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and then our appeal number 11 is the appellant here. Elaine Nyber.
Yeah, she's here.
Okay, great. Are you folks ready? Are you ready? Otherwise, we can wait 3 minutes. Okay.
Okay.
All right, go ahead, Carla.
Our next appeal is parcel number 200.50.13.203. It is a parcel with legal description, the northwest quarter, the northwest quarter, excluding the southwest quarter, the northwest quarter, the northwest quarter, and excluding 2 acres in the northwest quarter. It currently consists of 25.43 acres. Original assessment went out at $179,360. Appellants called the office, talked to an assessor. They looked at the agricultural criteria. Since the assessment notice went out, the appellant has submitted all documentation showing that they do qualify for agricultural classification, then for valuation in accordance to SDCL 106-112. So it's the assessor recommendation to change the classification from NAD to AGD and change the assessed value to $68,497.
All right, thank you. You just state your name and address?
Elaine Niebuhr, 806 East 4th Street, Canton.
All right. Elaine, are you good with the reduction that the assessor's office made? Is there anything else you want us to know?
Just that I don't remember getting the first two letters, so,
Oh.
but that's me, so. But I'm fine, I'm great with that.
All right, so we need to reclassify this as AGD. Does that need to be part of our motion?
Yes.
Okay, so I need a motion to reclassify as AGD with a value of $68,497.
Also move, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair, do you want to classify that as AGD or AGA?
AGD.
It's okay, because it's AGA and
Yep.
okay, I just want to make sure.
Yep.
So, all right.
All right, thank you for that clarification. Got a motion and a second. We call the roll, Sherry.
Commissioner Gibbon,
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Yes.
Garbers,
Yes.
Hudkin,
Yes.
Commissioner Landine.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we've got about a 6-minute break. Anybody want to take a break?
The next ones are here.
I know. Does anybody want to take a break?
Yeah, I would like to stay.
Okay, then we're gonna be in recess until 11:50.
By the way, he said the trailer park in Lennox.
We have appeal number 11 on our list, scheduled for 11:50 a.m. this morning. And is the appellant present?
I'm pretty sure it's us.
Ethan, you want to go ahead? Are you set up to do it?
All right, so the next appeal we have is parcel number 200.61.20.005, titled under ZVH LLC. It's lots 3 and 4 in the north half of vacated alley, block 20, College Heights, second edition, Canton. We currently have the property assessed at $60,497, and we are recommending to bring that all the way back down to $5,940. Giving it that excess land value. The reason for that is it was originally assessed as any of these other lots in front of it here that have access. This property is landlocked in the back, so that's why we gave it that 30 cents a square foot rate for the excess land or unaccessible land.
Okay, I'm gonna stop you there. Are you folks good with that value?
Yep.
Yes.
I thought you probably would be.
You weren't before. You can always bring a sandwich back.
I will. What kind you want?
Can I get a motion, folks?
Motion.
Thank you.
Second on that one.
All right, we're reducing it to $5,940.
The only other question I have is there a way that we can mark this so we don't have to like come in every year to do this or every couple of years? We've been in before for this same property.
So this rate is, no values are ever permanent. We're forced to look at our assessed values every year, against all the sales that happen.
Right.
What we did this year is we moved the model of our land values from a per square foot system to a tiered per square foot system. And so we had to go through and change the lot values on every single lot in Canton in order to make that happen. And that whoever was working on that project just oversaw the fact that this property didn't have access.
Okay.
So now at this point, it's set in that tier, and we shouldn't make a mistake on it until we do a land review. And hopefully, at that point, the assessor that's doing it realizes, that
Yeah.
looking at this from an aerial view, that there's no access to it.
Okay.
And so our system now is to make an adjustment on properties that don't have an access
Okay.
like this, and it should be fairly permanent. It's just that nothing's guaranteed or permanent.
I know.
It's hard for me to.
No, I thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, can I get a roll call, Sherry?
Commissioner Gibbon,
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Yes.
Garbers,
Yes.
Hudkin,
Yes.
Landine.
Yes. Thanks for coming in, folks.
You bet.
All right, we have our next one scheduled for 11:55. Is the appellant present?
And that's Canton Economic Development Corp.
You are correct, Brenda.
Yes.
Good morning.
Yes. I'm the attorney for the Development Corporation.
All right, go ahead, Carla.
Parcel 200.52.15.405, owned by Canton Development. It is Lot 5, Tract 4, Canton Development Edition in Canton. It's 4.62 acres. Our original assessment went out at $94,020. Attorney or agent representing the client contacted the office, noticed that it should have been valued and classed as agricultural. The paperwork and documentation was supplied to our office. Therefore, our assessor recommendation is to change the classification to AGD and put a valuation of $13,207, and that's per South Dakota Codified Law 10-6-112.
All right. Brenda, are you good with that drop?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm explaining.
I do that too. I do that same thing. That's
Brenda.
funny. I do that same thing.
25 years I've been saying that.
We used to have to do that.
I do the same thing. I do it in child support hearings.
But I do respect the job that you
All right.
guys do, so.
Okay.
That's funny.
Motion.
I've got a motion to change it to AGD at the $13,207. Is there a
Second.
second? Thank you. Sherry, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Gibbon,
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Yes.
Garbers,
Yes.
Akin,
Yes.
Commissioner Landine.
Yes. Thanks,
Thank you,
Brenda.
guys.
Is that the only one you had
Yes,
today?
it is.
Right. We have our next one is scheduled for noon. Is the appellant here? And did they RSVP?
Yeah, right here.
Oh, all right. Are you okay starting a few minutes ahead?
That's fine, I just have a little speaking anxiety.
Oh, you'll be
Don't
just
worry.
fine. Me too. All right, go ahead, Carla.
Our next appeal is parcel number 200.38.00.005. It's located at 720 West 3rd Street here in Canton. It's a mobile home park with 15 mobile homes located on the site. We currently have an assessed value of $136,591. We are recommending no change as the subject is valued lower than all the sales and cost approaches to value. We did show the mobile home court again in Lenox as an assessment equity, showing that we're valuing all mobile home courts in the same manner. Now, some amenities are higher in some courts as in others. Some have parking pads, garages being built. So we do account for those type of amenities in each mobile home park. We're also showing some comparable sales in small towns of mobile home courts that have sold. Those are not in Lincoln County, they're in Minnehaha, but we're showing that there are sales of mobile home courts. Our subject is being valued at $4,539 per square foot. For the site, thank you. Our cost is indicating a range between $6,426 and $6,793. Now remember, those were sites in Lenox, and our subject property is much less than that, about $2,000 per square foot for our site. Our market is indicating a market range between $26,000 and $50,000 per site. Therefore, our assessors are recommending no change to the current assessed value.
All right, commission have any questions for staff? I should say the board. All right, if not, sir, can you go ahead and just tell us your name and address and then go ahead with your testimony?
Sure. Stacy Van Groningen, 720 West 3rd Street, Lot 1 in Canton. I'm the landlord and I live on the property as well. I have a question. So the raise you have is what was added fees or something for utility hookups, and those hookups have been there since the trailer court was new in the 60s.
Correct. So when we did the revaluation for the 2020 assessment year, on some of the mobile home courts, the site improvements were left off. That was noticed this year. That's why you probably are seeing some mobile home court owners coming in and appealing, because we did raise values.
So you're considering that a site improvement?
That's an improvement to the site.
But those hookups have been there since the 60s, and they're a necessary function for anyone to have regular house or mobile home. And these aren't RVs. They don't pull in and out every season. So that's a necessity. And all I really have is to speak and plead my case because I'm low income. Everyone that lives there is low income. As I said, the trailer court has existed since the 1960s. My parents moved there in the 1970s. I was born in 76. Back in 2005, when my parents and I signed on the trailer court, it was because we had nowhere else to go, and the only other person that was interested when the then landlord was going to sell was going to try to put in storage, and we would have had nowhere to go. Our intent, my intent, has never been to make a lot of money or sell out, being low income ourselves. It's always been to have somewhere to stay and somewhere for other people like us to stay, family, lower income people. We've had a mix of people of color, Hispanic, Native American, black, white, retirees, military veterans, etc. Mom passed away in 2006. Dad did just before the COVID pandemic at almost 92. He didn't do any final planning. I've had to pay all his final expenses. I had to get on a payment plan to pay at the prior value property taxes to get stability. I was informed last year I was taken off that because I was making my payments. But I was also informed in October that my savings have run out. So everything I'm doing now is hand to mouth. When Dad passed, I was diagnosed with high blood pressure, but the doctors put me in the ER with a big bill with the meds they tried. I've paid all on my own, but I haven't seen a doctor in over 3 years due to cost for, like, I think $200 at last I knew for just a clinic visit. I've tried getting assistance at the time of Dad's death, but I didn't qualify. I can't afford the Affordable Care Act premiums, and I'm just doing my best on health myself. Everyone who lives in or has lived at that trailer court has been low income, somewhere affordable for people, and increases like this might price people out of the county by what some would call gentrification, which no one supports. We're worth something and have a right to live here, and I know you're not disputing that, but the more my burden is increased, people can't afford me raising their tax or rents more. And I don't want to be told I'd be better off selling to someone better suited. I've helped run it for 15 plus years, and I've only had trouble since Dad passed away and no expenses paid. But where would I go if I were to sell? And what about the others I'm helping? The less money they have, the less I have, the less I can do in maintenance and repairs, etc. During COVID, I couldn't evict anyone for non-payment of rent due to the federal eviction moratorium, and there were 2 tenants that took advantage of that cost me a lot out of my savings. Yet, unlike others, I didn't jack up rents because I felt that was unfair, knowing myself what their position was. My costs haven't decreased. Professional services like tree removal, electrical, plumbing, anything I feel uncomfortable tackling myself, I still have to pay the same rate as anyone else. My neighbors don't want to help remove dying ash trees on the property lines, but guess who they'll come after if they fall in their vehicle or on their yard? I continue to do the best I can to keep up, catch up, do things here and continue what Dad did alone. No assistance, no aid. But this tax increase via the added fee, I wasn't really notified of prior, and I can't really discern it from the paperwork easily, is money I don't have, nor do the residents who expect me to provide essential services. These are fees on essential services that have existed and are needed for life and keeping heat and electricity on, but they're added to property taxes. I don't follow politics. I don't know any of your political affiliations. I know there were some people running on the promises of lowering property taxes that were too high. I ask if any of those were your campaign promises, that you remember them. If not, consider that this issue isn't going away by adding more tax burden, especially to those affected the most, who just want somewhere stable to live, work, and raise a family, and not worry about losing their place to live because the landowner is like them. We should be valued as much as any other person, as the good book says. If you can't help me now, I ask that you continue to look into this and ease my tax burden along with those of others like me going forward. Low-income people should be able to own, live on, and use their property and shouldn't be taxed out of the county as someone else's problem, but helped, assisted, and given sympathy and, most importantly, understood. Government should help people. It's supposed to show compassion for the less fortunate beyond the vote getting and not then turn a cold shoulder. Fees shouldn't be developed or applied later on, yet not considered a property tax increase when that's where they're applied. Helps citizens. The county needs to operate like the constituents within current means, like I have to do. There's constant pressure, I know, but I have to do it, or I fail and others will suffer along with me. I'm asking you not to nearly double my tax burden when I can't even see a doctor or a dentist. I haven't seen a movie in 6 years. I obviously can't afford a barber for a shave and a haircut. And I don't have hundreds of dollars extra a month for higher taxes or new applied fees. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, sir. And we don't set your property taxes, so as commissioners, we don't have any say on what your actual taxes are.
Right.
We're just here today to talk about the valuation.
Okay.
So I understand people
But-
have said they will lower your taxes. We don't set them in the first place.
Right.
So, but in any event.
But I had to say something.
Nope, I totally understand. I appreciate your comments.
At least it's a bug in the ear.
Absolutely. Thank you. Do we have any motion discussion on appeal number 14?
Sir, you made mention that you believe that the correct and true value of your said property on your legal assessment should be $76,057.
Right, that
How
would've-
did you come up with that?
That was what I was taxed at the last time the notices came out, or the assessed value, or whatever they call it. So,
And why don't you think it should be increased?
well, the increase was on utilities that were, or the hookups that have been there, and I haven't improved those, and those hookups are actually the property of like XL, Mid-American, and it would be up to them to improve them, and I already pay some taxes through them, billing me every month for services, and I don't
Carlo,
know.
Okay, thank you.
was the
Sorry, I'm not that articulate.
appellant's request of 7657, was there a breakout on that, or did he lump it all together? How was it last year?
Let's see.
The
think that's
NADC
the
last year was
whole lumped up.
68,500 and NADC 2 was 7,557.
History too, right?
Yeah.
The 7,000, Sherry, was for what?
The 7,000 was for the NADC 2,
Okay.
which would be the utilities.
I was just going by,
I believe Stacy's intent was $76,057 in total,
That's
including
the total,
improvements. Yeah.
same as
Yeah,
last
the-
year.
Breakdown.
yeah, like,
All right. Can I get a motion
This
to
thing
leave it
was-
the way it was last year, please?
I would move that we take the recommendation of $76,657 and leave that as the total.
You mean 76,057?
Yes, as the total,
Yes.
keeping the same numbers for the land and improvements as
Yes.
last year. All right, I've got a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion?
And so the grand total is how much then?
$76,057.
Thank you.
Sherry, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Gibbon,
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Yes.
Gerbers,
Yes.
Atkin,
Yes.
Landine.
Yes. All right, and then, Stacy, you're on the next one as
Your
well, if you
mobile
just
home.
wanna hang out there.
Sure.
And we can probably keep this one fairly brief.
Yeah.
Are you agreeing with that revised amount?
Yes.
It went from 2495 down to 968.
Yes.
You're good with that? All right. Do you wanna go through it yeah, let's just go ahead and, take that and get the motion. I've got a motion from Paul,
Second.
and then I've got a second. Sherry, you wanna call the roll?
Commissioner Gibbon,
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Yes.
Gerbers,
Yes.
Atkin,
Yes.
Landine.
Yes. All right,
Thank you very much.
you bet, thank you. You're gonna
Okay.
take over?
Yes, we will.
Scheduled the whole time?
Do we have CJDP Land LLC here?
Yep.
Paul, you want to go up to the podium?
I'm the next five.
That's the next one scheduled for 12:20, and if we had them here.
He is
We
here.
would-
It's Paul.
It's Paul. Oh, you're here, Paul. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Why are you here? You just been. Okay. Mr. Gerbers, if you don't mind, we will take up now number 200.28.15.006. Carla?
So our next appeal is parcel number 200.28.15.006. It's located at 106 South Howard Street here in Canton. It is a single-family property owned by Sitco Land LLC. It is a single-family home, one story, built in 1956. It has 924 square feet. The assessment went out at 156,600. Our comparables, shown on page 204, show the comparables that we selected, with the subject property. They're good comparables. Our cost is in the mid-range and our market is on the low end. If you look at page 205, shows a breakdown of the three approaches to value. Our subject property is currently being assessed at $169 a square foot. Our cost range with the comparables show a range between 142 and 184, so it's right in the middle. The market is indicating a market range per square foot of $193 and $239 per square foot, so it's on the lower end of the market. We did have a exterior inspection. It was normal condition. During the reappraisal, a letter was sent, a door hanger was left at the residence, and the property owner never requested or responded back to our assessment letter. We have a no change for our assessor recommendation. The assessment is between cost and market. You can see on the map where the subject is in blue and the comparables are in red, and that's all in the general vicinity of the subject property.
Paul, you want to?
I'm okay, I'm okay with leaving that one as is.
Paul, you want to go up to the podium though, so we got you in the microphone, please? Thank you.
Paul Gerbers, 1016 Angel Lane. I'm okay with, if we just leave that one and move on to the next.
You've heard that everybody is complete. Do we have a motion to accept the assessor's recommendation?
A motion.
Second. Motion second, so call the roll.
Commissioner Gibbon,
Yes.
Commissioner, I'm completely lost, sorry. Atkin,
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins?
Yes.
That should be it. And Schmidt? Sorry.
Yes. Oh, you could forget. Okay, next item is, will be 200 dash, or dot 57.00.000. Carla?
Correct. Our next parcel is 200.57.00.000. It's owned by CNA Storage LLC, located at 110 North Riverview Road here in Canton. It is it has 9 buildings, and it is mostly used for storage facility. We have a current assessed value of $310,965. We are recommending no change. The subject's price per square foot is less than the comparables shown, including one that is a 12-year-old sale. All 4 properties, including the subject, are valued on the cost approach to value. We do show some indication of the subject's inspection, in which we did in 2019 for our 2020 assessment year, the reappraisal of Canton. They were in either normal or below normal condition, and we adjusted the valuation from that. Our next page shows where the appellant submitted their income information, so we were able to do an income approach on the property. The income approach showed a value of $387,945. Again, our assessed value is less than that at $310,965, so we're not over the income producing of the assessment part of it. And then our comparables that we're showing as assessment equity, located on page 219. And when we break it down, our subject property with the land is being assessed at $14 a square foot. If we just look at the building values, it's at $9 per square foot. Our cost comparables are showing a valuation between $14 and $25 a square foot. If we include the land, it's between $18 and $31. So we're low compared to the cost comparables that we're showing. We do have a 12-year-old sale that shows that when it sold, it was at $10 a square foot. The income is showing a valuation of $13 a square foot for improvements only. If we include the land, it's $18. So again, we're below the income part of the valuation approach to value. That's why we are sticking to our assessor recommendation of no change at $310,965. Stand by for any questions.
Paul?
I guess that where I'm getting my numbers from, that used to belong to my father-in-law, Case Van Astute. When he passed away, my wife and I decided to buy it from the estate. At that time, Zomer Auctions or Realty did an appraisal, and yes, the appraisal came in at $280,000. Yeah, simply to make the buying of their assets more fairly. The way I came up with $250,000, that's what I feel that it was worth at that time, and that's where I come up with it.
And how long ago was that?
2 years ago, almost 2 years to the date.
So basically, you left the land all at $106,000, and the building itself, or?
Right, the buildings, yeah.
Yeah, at $143,000.
If I may point something out to the commission on page 216, as recorded in the Register of Deeds, the purchase price that it paid for the property was $290,000. And that was a Register of Deeds recording.
I believe that's an error, but
Commissioners, you have further questions for either our assessor or Paul at this time?
Paul, are there any sewer hookups?
there is no water, or there's electricity, but no water or sewer.
It is in the city limits?
Yes.
Does the
the city indicate if it is serviceable, if it wanted to be changed to a residential or some other use?
With that development going on out there, that housing development, I mean,
But currently, is it?
Further questions? If not, we'll entertain a motion.
I have a quick question.
Go ahead.
Carla, what was our closest recent sale and what was that assessed at? I mean, that, forgive me, I'm at a different screen than what I'm normally at.
For a storage unit?
For land, because there's a
Oh.
few structures on this, but land in general.
So what we showed was, for our comparables, we showed some storage unit facilities within Canton. The last sale that we had of a storage facility in Canton was back in 2010, so it's been a while. I mean, we would have had to reach out on storage facilities into Harrisburg and T, and we thought for assessment equity that it was better for us to stick to the Canton area.
So Commissioner Poppins, the recommendation or the appellate has left the land at $106,737, and what he's really disputing is the value of the building itself.
The structures.
Yeah.
And to answer your question, Mr. Poppins, the assessed value of the land overall is 47 cents a square foot. The comparables shown are a range between $1.71 and $2.25 a square foot because they're much smaller lots than the subject property.
Commissioners, we need a recommendation.
I know that you have a job to do because I've been up there, but
Yeah, I'm
that,
waiting. I'm
that
waiting.
storage unit was an ostrich farm. And bless my father-in-law's
ostrich.
heart, but he made it into a storage unit, so it's not a full-fledged, what you normally see as a storage unit.
Yeah, it was an ostrich farm. It was.
It was also purchased for $290,000.
We got a lot of head scratching here.
I'm gonna motion that the structures be placed at 175, 175,000 land remain at 106,737 for a total of 281,737.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion to leave the land at 106,737, and we have the structure down to Commissioner Poppins at 175.
175.
175, zero even, correct?
Yep.
Okay, do you have a total on that?
Yes, 281,737.
Okay, we have a motion. Further questions, comments? Hearing none, will the auditor call the roll, please?
Commissioner Gibbons?
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins?
Yes.
Atkin?
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt?
Yes. Next item that we have is item 200.32.06.008. And it is, okay, Carla, on
You
that
bet.
one. You've made the adjustments there, right?
Actually,
we
the
do-
next three, the assessor's recommendation I could live with.
Okay. So that would take,
I'll motion, Mr. Chairman, to do the recommendation of 512,836 for the structures, 27,783 on the land for a total of 546,19.
Second.
do we have a second?
Second.
Second. Further questions? Auditor, please call the roll.
Commissioner Gibbons?
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins?
Yes.
Atkin?
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt?
Yes. Okay. Next item is 200.50.14.004, Beaver Creek Development. Carla?
correct. It's parcel number 200.50.14.004. Legal description, northwest quarter, southeast quarter, west of right-of-way. And the east half, northeast quarter, southwest quarter, excluding Skiles Edition, Beaver Creek LLC is the owner. It sits on 33 acres. Assessed value went out at $492,638. The appellant came in and visited with an assessor, and it was determined that per SDCL 10.6.12, the property would qualify for agricultural classification, therefore valuation. So it's with that they had an application for the classification and showed all the proper documentation. So the assessor's recommendation to change the class from NAD to AGD, and then the value of $88,206.
Is this acceptable, Paul?
The next two are actually one piece together, but it was bought, but there was two different parcels.
Question, Carla, if I may.
Yes.
When it's something as simple as this, when we make a correction, is that not within your jurisdiction to simply make that? You need us to approve?
You have to approve it.
Okay, even though.
After the assessment goes out, all valuations have to go through the board.
Even if it's a change in what
Even if
the
it's a change.
classification. Ethan, you got something to say, I could tell.
Well, if the appellant accepts the recommendation, I mean, typically, it's hard for us to stand in and say whether they need to be here or not. But there are cases where people accept our recommendation and we put that out in front of you, we
Okay.
say.
I just wanted
"Here's an
to
accepted
clarify."
recommendation," we can just move through it.
So, do we have a recommendation or a motion on reassessing this from 492,638 to 88,206?
And motion.
We have a motion, I have a second?
Second, for clarification, it's actually a change in the
Classification.
classification.
Yeah, it's an
Is
AGC.
it an AGD again? I was gonna say that.
Yep.
Is that a
There's a
t-
mistake on there.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Okay. Auditor, call the roll, please.
Who was the second?
Commissioner Poppins?
Commissioner Gibbon?
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins?
Yes.
Otkin?
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt?
Yes. Next item is 200.38.00.003.
Same
Carla?
thing.
Same
The
thing.
appellant came in, it's 2.715 acres, it's adjoining the previous appealed parcel. We originally sent out the assessment at 96,870. Appellant came in, discussed with the assessor, brought in the proper documentation, changing it from NAD to AGD. And AGD, and the assessed value is $7,661. It's D in town.
Is that, that's acceptable, Paul. Do we have a motion to reclassify this particular parcel?
Yeah, motion.
Motion?
I'll second.
Motion second by Commissioner Gibbon. Further questions or comments? Hearing none, auditor, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Gibbon?
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins?
Yes.
Otkin?
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt?
Yes. Thank you. We are a little bit ahead schedule. Englert, is our next person here?
I'm here, but the property owner isn't here.
Oh,
He's scheduled for 12:55.
12:55. AJ, does he, I don't know. I mean, we're ready for.
Break?
Let me just take a look out here and see if he's
Okay.
waiting for me out here.
No, in town, it's always AGD, no matter if it's
Sandwich.
platted or
Give me a-
not. Or attorney representing this property.
Yeah.
So by statute, either the appellant, the agent, or an attorney can represent them. So
Okay.
if he's on behalf, which he did state in his letter, were they going to appear?
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe we should wait.
Yep. Well, we'll recess until 12:45, give them an opportunity to be here. That's a total of, at 12:45. Or 12:45, because I'll give them that, and then the agent can represent it. Okay? The next parcel of property is by James and Cheryl Ingert on number 200.50.13.400. Madam Assessor, Carla, you want to rock and roll here?
You bet. So it's a parcel number 200.50.13.400. It is the west 117 feet of the south 465 feet of the north half southeast quarter, including vacant alley. It's in Lawler and Maple addition. That's between, the alley and Lawler and Maple Streets. It consists of 1.141 acres. It's owned by James and Cheryl Englert, represented by their attorney. We have a current assessment of $14,912. It is bare lot. From the attorney's letter that was stated in the equalization office yesterday, they are agreeing with that assessment of $14,912.
We're accepting it.
You want to do it at the mic?
Sure.
Yep. And for the record, AJ, you're going to have to introduce yourself.
AJ Swanson, my office address is 27452 482nd Avenue, Canton. And I'm an attorney admitted to practice in this state, and I have the pleasure of representing the owners, Jay and Cheryl Englert, and Jay is seated behind me today. And I can speak to parcel 400 first if I may, but then I would like to move on to 404 if I
Well,
can.
we'll take one at a time. but
All right.
Just for the record.
For the record, I wrote a letter to the Director of Equalization yesterday and told the office that we would be willing, based on the calculation methods that they used of 30 cents per square foot for 49,708 square feet, that we would accept that value.
All right? Who moved? Okay. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Further comments? Hearing none. Auditor, please call the roll.
Commissioner Gibbon,
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins.
Yes.
Garbers,
Yes.
Action,
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt.
Yes. We move on to number 200.50.13.404. Carla?
Correct. It's located at 1140 East First Street here in Canton. It is owned by James and Cheryl Englert. It's a single-family home, two-story, sits on 6.384 acres, was built in 1898. It has approximately 2,651 square feet of living area. We have a current assessment of $386,412. The land is valued at $144,816. The house is valued at $222,609, and the accessory buildings are valued at $18,987. We have all the property information details on the property that's located on page 253. In the packet, we have a sketch of the property, pictures of the properties, not only the home, but the accessory buildings that are located on the property. Our three approaches, our three comparables found on page 257 show some homes that are also two-story older homes in Canton that have sold over the last 1 to 2 years. Just want to highlight the comp show assessment equity with our two older two-story homes. The market indicates a strong market for those types of homes. The locations vary throughout Canton, but it also shows that we're not over assessing our two-story homes for what they're being sold for. Our three approaches page have a assessment for the subject property at $140 per square foot. Our cost shows a cost between $108 and $119. If we're just strictly looking at the house, we've got a house value of $84 per square foot, and our cost is 78 to 95 per square foot. And our market is indicating a market range between $66 and $92 per square foot. Overall price for the property is $84 to $111 per square foot. The assessors are recommending no change as the property assessment is within the cost and market ranges. When we just look at just the property itself, they indicated in regards to the property on the central air, we are not assessing them for central air. It is part of our grade management when we do look at our grade. We did do an exterior and interior inspection back in 2019. We do show that the roof, the siding, all to be in good shape. There are good builder grade finishes on the interior. You can see the map where the subject property is located, and the comparables are in red. So they're to the west and within the central part of the city. With that being said, we are recommending no change to the assessment, and we'll stand by for any questions.
So Carla, breaking down the assessment, at 144,816 is for the dwelling itself?
The 144,816 is strictly just the land.
Just the land?
Yes, it's 6.384 acres.
Okay. And the 222,609
Is the home.
is the home, and the 18,
987 is the accessory buildings.
oh, okay. So you have the land, you have the dwelling, and you have the accessory buildings.
Correct.
Counselor Swanson, your turn.
Thank you, Commissioner. Much of what I want to say to the board today is contained in this two-page letter. And since you are moving on matters after the conclusion of statements and testimony, I don't know whether you want me to read this or take the time to read it yourself, but this is the bulk of what I wish to say today. We are not accepting of the.
AJ, why don't you submit this for the record?
I'd be happy to.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So I want to have this document considered by the board, if that's what your point of inquiry is, Commissioner. I would like to have this marked and become part of the record of our opposition to the assessed values that have been determined. This two-page letter was written and submitted to the auditor, or I'm sorry, to the assessor yesterday, and attached to it as a third page, but not otherwise discussed, in the letter is this color map, which is taken from the GIS mapping system and is essentially, I believe, the same display that the assessor has just shown us. Basically, I would like to let the letter lay for just a minute, and I want to move on to the second item that I handed out, which is this series of graphs, the first page of which is a graphing of the assessed values for every year from 2019 through the current period. And that's for this parcel 404. We start at 120, 731, and end at 386, 412. And remarkably, that's a 320% increase in those assessment years, which I think is, well, it's startling, to say the least. I know assessments have gone up, but I'm not sure that 320% is warranted for this particular property. If we just look at the comps that the assessor's office itself has cited, we go to page 2 of these graphs, and we find the histories of those properties. I believe I have faithfully recreated it With the exception of comp 3 in the current year, the assessor gave us two values, and I couldn't ascertain which one is correct. In one place, it says it's a $351,000 assessment. In another place, it says 293. And I have graphed or charted the 293 value down at in the lower right-hand side. So we're using that as the graph value. These comps have all depicted a 245% or 260% increase in valuations over those periods. And again, this property, parcel 404, is turning in a 320% increase in valuation. If you go through my letter and note where we are willing to accept values, and we add those up, and again, the proposed value of land at 144,816, we are suggesting that that value be determined in the same methodology that we have just determined for parcel 400, which is 30 cents per square foot. And if we use the 30 cents per square foot instead of the some 52 cents per square foot that the assessor is proposing, we end up with a land value of $83,421. If we use the value that the homeowner is proposing for the house itself, which appears at the very end of the letter at page 2, we are suggesting the proper value is 163,009. In 2019, the assessor did not include any value at all for the several old, small outbuildings that are on this property. They are today at some $18,000, and we're not going to argue about those. When we get to the final analysis, if we add up what the homeowner is proposing for an assessed value, it starts at, first of all, in 2019 at 120,731, according to the assessor's records. Today, in 2023, it would come to 265,417 when all three categories are added together. That remarkably is a 219% increase in assessments. We're willing to accept that. And I think that is more in line with the assessor's comparables that she has cited, number 1, 2, and 3, than the 320% increase in assessed values that they are proposing. I think that concludes my, I do want to add one thing. Taking the position, as I talked to Jay today, and we talked about, well, he's almost 80 years old, and we all know that's getting up there in years. I feel it myself at age 76, but as we project ahead, trying to forecast the future, that we've decided that's impossible. But his suggestion is, based on the condition of the basement, which is an old rock wall basement, it's got a dirt and concrete floor in it. This is a house that, if it were to be sold, is not going to be bought for reuse as a home. It would be bought as a tear down for somebody else's project. The homeowner is quite certain of that. As we look at this site and try to compare it with comparables 1, 2, and 3, the assessor's comparables are all more in the center area of this, to the north of this courthouse, for example. One over on Bridge Street is a little bit further away, but two of them are certainly right along one of these streets, Broadway. Those homes are all served by paved streets with curb and gutter. And for those of you who live in any city, paved streets and curb and gutter come with an extremely high price tag, which arguably reflect in market value. The home of the Englerts doesn't have any of that. It's got a gravel street that winds around the east end of Old Main Apartments. Comes onto First Street where their driveway is. That too is a gravel road. It has no curb and gutter. It has really no access other than this gravel street that comes around Old Main Apartments. To be honest, it's got a roof, it's got 4 walls, it's got other amenities, but to say that this is a property which should be controlled by the comparables cited by the assessor is just not the case. That's my presentation. Are there any questions?
Okay. Thank you, AJ. You may have a question. Carla, do you have any response to the material that Counselor Swanson presented?
I guess one of the first responses that I want to make is in regards to the accessory buildings back in 2019 never being assessed. That's one of the prime reasons why we were doing the reassessment. There were a lot of amenities that were never assessed. There were improvements or deteriorations that needed addressed. That's just one of the reasons why we did the reappraisal. These folks have never paid taxes on any of those structures. They've been there for a very long time. My second response is in regards to his chart. You know, looking at a 245 to a 260% increase since 2019 versus the 320. The majority of that difference is because of the land. The improvements are increasing at the same percentage every year when you're inside Canton, because we're making those annual adjustments to all structures. The primary difference is between a lot in Canton versus an acreage within Canton. So we did do some of our pricing schedules on our larger acreages within city limits. And that's primarily because we've had sales in the last 2 to 3 years of acreages that have sold within city limits. So we knew that our land values on these larger lots were low. So that's why you're seeing a larger increase on this parcel, because it's larger than your typical. Other than that, I don't have any comments.
Okay. Further questions from the commission for either Carla or for Mr. Swanson? If not, we'll close and take a recommendation.
Carla, couple clarifications. In 2019, we did a full assessment on the property at that time?
Correct.
And did we do a full assessment, you said, again in 21?
We're doing it every year. So every year we look at
on-site appraisal, did we, 2019?
2019 for the 2020 assessment year.
Have we been there since?
No.
So something does seem awry in percentages between the 22 to 23 assessments here.
It's the land value.
The land value
If you look at the assessment history on this parcel, and I will make it a little bit larger, I understand there's a lot of information going on.
Yep.
You can see that the land is what took the biggest increase in assessment in the jump. The structures, no matter where you're at in Canton, took all very similar increases, and those were market adjustments. But we also looked at our land values in Canton, and there were acreages within Canton, bare or improved, that were selling a lot higher than what we had them assessed. So we increased our lot values in Canton, whether it be just a standard lot or our acreages. So you can see that it's the land that took the largest jump. And that's why when he's comparing them to the 3 comparables that we're using, those are traditional lots within Canton. They're not acreages, which is the subject.
And we showed you a sale of an acreage on the south side of Canton that sold 2 years ago for $250,000, and that was just a bare 5-acre lot.
Can I speak to that?
Sure.
We've just gotten done, or just concluded, parcel 400, where we agree the market value is 30 cents per square foot. It's not a platted lot, neither is this 6.3 acres or whatever it is. That's not a platted lot. Many parts of that parcel 400 are actually closer to this home than the area that it actually sits on in parcel 404. But yet the assessor is saying now, well, this is worth 52 cents per square foot. And I don't understand the difference at all. I understand it's categorized as, quote, excess land, but I just got done doing a word search on Title 10, and I didn't come up with any reference in Title 10 to a term of excess land. Now, maybe it exists somewhere in a regulation that the assessor's office follows, but if we have 30-cent land within a stone's throw of the west wall of this home, I don't understand why we now then have 52-cent land everywhere else.
Okay. All right, thank you. I'm gonna close the hearing, and commissioners, you've heard the testimony, you've heard the details, you've heard the data that was presented, you've heard the rationale. We need to make a recommendation on this appeal. I see calculators being worked on. Do we have a recommendation?
Can we ask more questions?
Okay, you got another question, Paul? Go ahead.
Can curb and gutter, and I maybe should know that being on the commission, but can curb and gutter be done through this land? Do we know that?
Pardon?
Since it's in the city limits, can curb and gutter be brought through this land in the future if it wanted to be?
That's a city question, not an assessment question.
What, sorry, without having this right screen, if you just simply, what is the assessment per acre or per square foot on that?
Sure. So how we have developed our tiered system is that the first 12,000 square feet is at a price range of X. And I'm sorry. So the first 10,990 square feet, we have an assessment of $4.50 per square foot.
Okay.
For anything after that, up to 16,000 square feet, we're at $1.25 per square foot. And then any excess is at $30, or excuse me, 30 cents per square foot.
What was that first number?
$4.50 per square foot for the first 10.
450?
450.
For the first 11,000 square feet.
So that's why you see some of these adjoining lot with the excess, because we've already put the majority of our value on the primary lot where the structure sits. It's not as easy as just putting $30 cents a square foot on everything.
And if I may address your question, Mr. Garber, you know, we're not looking at this with what potential does it have to be developed. We're looking at it, you know, compared to other similar properties, just like that lot on the south side of town I referred to earlier. I don't believe there's curb and gutter there currently.
Commissioners, do we have a proposal?
Dirt road.
You have two choices. You can either make some recommendations, or you can leave it with the assessor's recommendation.
And sometimes it's easier to show appellants or even the commission some of the sales that we are looking at. I mean, we have 10 minutes to state, 5 minutes because we're giving the appellant some time. And one of our sales that we're using in developing our land table on some of our bigger lots, it was roughly about 5 acres. It sold for $274,000. There's no curb, there's no gutter, it's on a dirt road. There are amenities that matter and some that don't, but when we're assessing, we're trying to establish a mass appraisal method. So we're treating everybody exactly the same, regardless of where they're located for some, unless there's a specific that can show a location factor.
Do we have a recommendation?
I haven't broke it apart. I just took the 23 valuation to the 22 valuation. We were at 105,000, I believe, difference. I took half of that, coming up with 333.
You mean off the total, Paul?
Right. I
Off
have
the
not
three-
broke it 333,800.
So from 386,412 to, what'd you say?
333,800.
333,800. You didn't break out any of the, that was just a grand total.
Yeah, I told you, that's how I come up with it. I have not.
So do you want to leave the land values where they are and the structures where they are and then lower the house? Lower the land, leave the house?
If you left the outbuildings as they are,
Yep, I don't think there's no
they
discrepancy.
could stay there. Land could stay the same, you could take it off the house.
Correct.
Okay. So help me here, but the land, your recommendation or motion is for the land to, or the outbuilding to stay at 18,987, for the land to stay at 144,816, and for the house to be reduced from 222,609 to $50,000 less.
169,997.
Is that clear to everyone? Is there any changes or modifications that anybody wants to make?
Is that Mr. Gerber's motion?
Is that your motion, Paul?
Yes.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Further comments, questions? Hearing none, will the auditor call the roll, please?
Commissioner Gibbon,
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins,
Yes.
Gerbers,
Yes.
Hodkin,
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt.
Yes. Next item. From Superior Properties LLC, we have item number 200.58.00.103. Carla?
We have a property located at 1015 East Fifth Street here in Canton, owned by Superior Properties. It's an office building built in 1970, has approximately 1,280 square feet. Our current assessment is $134,234. The lot value is valued at $61,180. It does have a lot size of
Just over an
44,
acre.
just right at under an acre. So the building value is $73,054, which is $57 per square foot. We felt it was in normal condition back in 2019. The cement walls and roof were in pretty good shape. We do show some comparables of properties that have sold in the Canton area of like or very similar type structures. Currently, our assessed value for the property is on the structure itself is $57 per square foot. Our cost from our comparables is showing a range between $34 and $91 per square foot. That's right in the middle of our cost comparisons. The market is indicating a market range between $74 and $221 per square foot. The map is showing where the subject property is located, and then our comparables are on the map. So with that being said, our assessor's recommendation is no change to the current assessment.
Carla, will you go back to no, keep going there, thank you.
The comparables aren't really all that comparable.
That's what I
It's
was.
the best we can do.
Okay, I just like, when I
Yeah.
quick glanced at it, I went,
Yeah. It's just to show that these older structures where our assessment and the sell prices, I mean, we're not over market value. So our first and foremost is we're assessing equally and we're not assessing at over market value, and that's what we're trying to show.
Okay. Is a representative from Superior Properties here? Would you come up, sir? State your name and address and give us your take on these next three properties.
Tim Longstaff, I'm one of the owners of the property. It's in a partnership. We took an income approach because those are not comparable properties. The one's a restaurant that came with a couple $100,000 worth of equipment. I know that sale real well. I'm not familiar with the red building. Where's that located?
Baltic.
Baltic? Okay, not even the same community. Baltic's actually a very strong market right now that's taken off with a lot of new housing. They're not landlocked like we are here in Canton, so. The land, what's the assessed value of the land? You had broken that out, you had mentioned that.
$61,180.
A majority of that land sits in a floodplain. So what we did is we took an income approach to it based on income returns and we use Sioux Falls markets because there's just not, it's a property that's rented out. It's split down the middle by a cement wall down the middle. It can't be removed, can't be enlarged cost effectively to one large building. Information I would know because I'm in the property on a daily basis. I know it's hard for these guys to get inside every property. I know they try. But with the land being in a floodplain, we took an income approach based on what dollars we'll buy for rental properties. And that's the Sioux Falls market. That's not the Canton market. And came up with what we felt was a fair market value based on an income approach for the property. Plain and simple.
And your recommendation, sir, was that of $71,500?
Yes.
Okay.
I did not realize the lot was that big, but again, most of that lot, if they don't have a picture, I've got a picture of the building that I've given to you guys, but the back of that lot is all in a floodplain and backs up to railroad tracks. It's pretty much useless land.
This building is not in the floodplain though, right, Tim?
The building itself is not, and the 400, maybe 500 square feet of parking.
Carla, your recommendation was the land at $73,054 and the building at $61,180? Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
No, the lot at $61,180.
Oh, the lot,
Okay.
okay. Lot 61,180, the dwelling is 73,054, correct?
Correct.
That's the building then?
Yep.
The building is not 73,000 square feet.
Okay.
This building isn't 73,000 square feet.
No, we have
No.
it at
Seven-
1,280 square feet.
Yep,
It's
that is,
assessed at 73,054
73,000, this is the total dollars.
yep.
Are there further questions for the, for the appellant or for our assessor?
This is located south of Highway 18, correct?
Directly across from Baumgart's.
Yeah.
There's a beauty salon in there right now.
Okay.
Yeah, again, like I said, the only approach we could take to it is an income approach, because there is nothing comparable out there right now.
But this is a market approach with
Did we get income
considering Sioux
information?
Falls, correct?
Did we request it?
It's not
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I'm gonna propose a motion of 40,000 on the land, 73,054 on the structure, with a total of 113,054.
We have a motion from Commissioner Poppins for 113,54, did you say?
054, yes.
054. And to break that down one more time for the record was?
40,000 on the land, adjusting for floodplain adjustment, and then 73,054 for the structure to remain.
You've heard the motion by Commissioner Poppins. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a second. Further comments or questions? Hearing none, will the auditor call the roll, please?
Commissioner Gibbons?
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins?
Yes.
Garbers?
Yes.
Odkin?
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt?
Yes. Next, we move to item 200.58.00.105, Superior Properties. Carla?
So our next, it also has the same site address as the previous. It's at 115 East Fifth Street in Canton. It is parcel number 200.58.00.105. It is a bare lot at 18,856 square feet for the lot size. We have a current assessed value of 42,426. Within the appeal itself, the property owner is stating that there are buildings on there, but there aren't. It's bare. It's a complete bare lot. It did get confusing with the appeal, and I will admit his PT 17 stated a parcel number for a parcel, but it had a different legal description. So it was kind of unclear on what he wanted to appeal, lot 5 or lot 4. But both lot 4 and 5 are bare pieces of property, and they're being assessed similarly. This particular appeal, the write-up we did is for lot 5, because that was the parcel number, and that was the original legal description. I'm not sure who crossed out lot 4. It wasn't initialed.
That was me. I thought I'd written down and I might have the wrong lot on this one.
Yeah.
We own all of them.
Yeah. So if you look at,
Do I have the wrong lot, maybe?
this is the parcel that the appellant is appealing. This is lot 5, in which we did the write-up. Lot 4, Dave, which one was lot 4? This one?
To the left.
This one? This one was lot 4, so regardless of which one he's appealing, lot 4 or 5, both are bare pieces of property. The structures that he's indicating in his summary on the information that he provided, those structures actually sit on this lot right here, which is not being appealed. So, there was no buildings to remove. We're not assessing any buildings, because these are both bare properties, both being assessed at $2.25 a square foot. He states in his appeal that, they're landlocked, but he's landlocking himself. He owns all of them. So it's gonna sell as one property, essentially. But they're all being assessed equally, at $2.25. So that's where we're making no change. It's, our recommendation is in line with the comparable properties on the land values per square foot. And it's, it's at the market as well. It's right within the market range. These are the sales that we're using.
That one I have the wrong lot. So that one's good. I
Sure.
wouldn't agree with that,
Yep.
disagree with that. I had the wrong lot.
We are doing the appeal on parcel number 250.
I'm gonna withdraw the appeal on that because I had the wrong property.
Carly,
She's correct, I had the wrong property. I thought it was the property with the structure on it.
Mr. Chairman, I motion to accept his withdrawal.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to withdraw the applicant of the government. Auditor, call the roll, please.
So by withdrawing, then you're supporting the assessors?
Assessors of.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not gonna argue with that.
Okay. Commissioner Gibbon?
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins?
Yes.
Garbers?
Yes.
Otkin?
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt?
Yes. Okay. So now, Carla, are we down to 200.15.00.028?
Correct. It is a property located at 425 North Kidder here in Canton. It is a single-family property owned by Superior Properties. It's a one-story home built in 1950. It has approximately 1,380 square feet with other amenities that we're providing to the commission for review. The current assessment went out at $227,581. We do have on page 295, 3 comparables that we're showing for comparison with our subject property. There are very recent sales within Canton of the same age, size, and type of home as the subject property. Our comparison is our subject property is being assessed at $165 a square foot. The cost range is between $143 and $217 with our comparables. The market is indicating a market range between $197 and $260 per square foot. We did do a reappraisal back in 2019 for our 2020 assessments. No interior inspection was completed. I think it was a rental property, so maybe the appellant was in respect to the renter. You can also see where the subject property is located and where the 3 comparables are also located from the subject property. With that being said, we're making a recommendation to no change. The assessment is between the cost and below the market value.
And that's for 227,000?
Correct.
Okay. Okay, sir. Your application's cause that you wish to have that reduced to $114,500.
That is correct. I'm a certified real estate appraiser, and I was gonna present this myself and thought, nope, that's a conflict maybe. So I reached out to one of my peers who I subcontract and asked her if she'd take a quick look at it and just do a quick and dirty. If you wanna go back to your comparables, I think I've found the reason. It's actually a 1.5-story home, it's not a ranch. A lot of our square footage is in a 2nd story. These are not comparable properties, which happens.
The appellant did submit an appraisal by, with the information that they provided. It was not a USPAP compliant appraisal. It wasn't used for lending purposes. It was an apprenticeship that apprentice from the property owner that did the appraisal. It was not a typical appraisal. It was not a paid-for appraisal. The actual appraisal states Longstaff appraisal as the appraiser, which is the appellant.
No, I'm not the appraiser. I'm
Sir, I have
here.
a question for you.
Yeah.
Simple one. Would you sell this house for $114,000?
No.
I guess not.
But I would sell it to you for what you got it down at.
I mean.
It'd probably a lot less than that.
I'm not gonna argue with you, but my daughter bought a house, I look at this house and, I mean, when I see 114, I thought, if you
is
wanna sell
lipstick.
it, we'll give you a check today and we'll walk.
Write me a check.
But no.
Then write me a check. No,
you have-
it's lipstick on a pig. It is by the park. It is a nice location. It does need some, and yes, This was not completed by an associate. She's actually a certified residential appraiser that I subcontract. So I'm not gonna sell her short. She's very qualified. What was I gonna say on that? These just are not comparable homes. I'm willing to leave this open to discuss it another time. We don't have to make a decision today. But these aren't even close. I've been in every one of these homes. They're pretty heavily remodeled. And they don't need the repairs ours needs. Ours looks good from the curb. We've done a good job at that.
Commissioners, do you have a question for either the appellant or the assessor? If not, we're gonna close the hearing and let's hear a recommendation. Commissioner Gibbon? I'm going to move the chair over to you. And
I was gonna make a recommendation.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Of 173,031 and 38,550.
For a total of,
You would ask me that.
Give me the numbers again. What was your numbers again?
I didn't write it down.
173,031, 38,550.
which is a total of?
Well, 211,581.
11. That's your motion,
Yes,
Commissioner.
that's
Do
my
we have a
motion.
second?
I'll second.
I have a second. Further comments or clarification? Hearing none, order to call the roll.
Commissioner Gibbon,
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins.
Yes.
Garbers,
Yes.
Atkin,
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt.
No. I think it's worth the $227,000.
I appreciate
I
your
don't
time.
think you can buy a house. I just bought one all over the place. That baby, you put that on the market for $227, that'd be sold in an afternoon.
I'd beg to
There are
differ
not
with
that
you,
many
but that's
houses out
okay.
there available.
Tim.
Move to
Okay.
adjourn, or
Motion to recess.
Motion to recess.
Who said that?
Motion, oh yeah, a second.
I'll second it.
Second.
Whoa, slow down.
Aye.
Motion to recess.
Motion to recess was Commissioner Poppins, second by Commissioner Gibbon.
Commissioner Gibbon,
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins.
Yes.
Garbers,
Yes.
Atkin,
Yes.
Schmidt. We will see you guys at 4:30.
Not me.
Yes, we'll see you at 4:30, Paul.
When's-